Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 6th meeting of the Richmond Selectboard. Is there any public comment? Mary?
Very cool. I want to thank the effort of the volunteers on the 4th of July committee and also thank the generous sponsors who included Casella Waste Management, Northfield Bank. I can't name them all, but I just want to extend my gratitude to those folks. I think Richmond Hardware was in on that. But without all that and the volunteers, this kind of stuff won't happen. And I think it was excellent. Thank you all.
Here, here. Thank you, Mary.
Just want to follow up to what Mary said. Thank you, Mary. The volunteers did a fantastic job. But unfortunately, I'm seeing what I'm seeing in a lot of the organizations that I volunteer for. Fewer and fewer people are stepping up and doing the work. And it's really causing a lot of stress and burnout. The people that did everything, including Mary, worked extra hard because so few people are coming in to do the work. So, you know, as Mary said, we owe these people a huge debt of gratitude for putting it on. And just to plug, if anybody wants to help is needed.
Can I add to that? You know, I think the civic responsibility and teaching civics in classes is something that has been missing for a number of years. And I think teaching civics and talking about civic responsibility in schools instead of whatever's politically incorrect, I promise I won't say it, but teaching civic responsibility and what it does for your community might be somewhat helpful. We'd increase the Boy Scout membership, we'd increase volunteerism. I think we might have junior firefighters involved. So I don't know who to talk to about that, but the curriculum seems to be lacking. And the outcome of the students kind of demonstrates that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment?
I'm here for one subject on Brown's Court, but I want to bring it to your attention that it was brought to my attention that there are people sort of not following the rules, playing past 8 o'clock, possibly using car lights to light the court. So I just want to stress, this is a neighborhood and people who are playing need to respect the rules and the neighborhood. There's also concern about speed of people coming out of the parking lot. So I don't know if we can put a stop sign at the entrance to the parking lot. I don't know whether people will obey it, but might get a few to pay attention. There's kids in that neighborhood, plus adult pedestrians.
Bart?
I will just add, I think that I live on Tilden Avenue, which you may know is not very long. The people at the end of it are in the cemetery, and there are occasionally people who are in a big hurry to get there who are going 40 plus miles an hour to get to the cemetery. And I'm pretty struck by that because it's only a couple 100 yards.
Need a speed bump. Tell you what.
Just to speak on the stop sign, I mean, you have stop signs from this parking lot, from the Volunteers Green parking lot. I think it's very reasonable to have a stop sign coming out of that parking lot for that park. So I don't know if that's an ordinance thing that you guys have to look at, or if you can have a stop sign before a parking lot enters into traffic.
It's not a town highway, right?
It is. I think that would be the difference, right?
Yeah.
I think either way.
Volunteers Green is in a town highway.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that the parking lot at Brown's Court is not a town highway. I don't think it has to be part of the ordinance.
Yeah, we can just.
Yeah, I'll look into it. You see if we need anything or if we can just pull it up, because it makes sense to have one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great.
That's a great idea.
Any other public comment?
I came to comment on something on the agenda. Do I just wait until that?
Yeah, just wait till that agenda item.
Okay.
Great, thanks. Any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
I think we were gonna strike D, the housing committee. They said they weren't ready to have an update. They want to do it on
July
July.
20th, right?
We just got 15 minutes back.
We'll use it up. Any other modifications? Being none, on to the main agenda. Next we have consideration of using $966.08 from the Special Project Reserve Fund to purchase a bike rack for Brown's Court.
And a stop sign.
You want to talk about it, Fran?
Sure. You'll have to excuse my voice. So bike rack was in the plan for Brown's Court. We searched around to see if we could get one donated with no luck, so. Gene Agner got some price, I got a price. And then I called Local Motion in Burlington, and they will get us one that's 25% off. So that's the price. And then we will need a cement pad for it, and Pete is, my understanding, working on getting, someone is already gonna be doing some concrete work to do the pad. I don't know the cost of the pad.
I don't have a cost on the pad yet, but I know Pete was looking at a few options if he could. Yeah, I think he might have a couple of sidewalk squares he might be able to recycle if they're still in good condition. So I was just catch up on some emails today, but I know he's already looking into it.
So if I could get the okay to order the bike rack, it's gonna take a while to get here, and
How big is that bike rack?
it will hold 7 bikes.
And I'm assuming it's metal.
One of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
the weight.
Yeah, I can share a screen if you guys want to take a quick look. This is the model. So it would be the 7 bike rack model here. Let me zoom in. Give me a second to find a better zoom here.
Caitlin and Bard, your description is pretty accurate.
Okay, that's where my zoom. All right, I'm failing on zooming in, sorry. It's over here on the left. And I think they have some more. Yeah. So it's, yeah, the up and down hoops would be this 7 bike rack here.
Oh, they're good.
There it is in action.
Local Motion recommends.
very expensive bike.
As well.
Makes sense.
Ready for a motion?
Ready when you guys are.
Ms. Bart, I move to approve the use of $966.08 from the Special Project Reserve to purchase bike rack from Brown's Court. This will come from the funds earmarked for improvements to town parks.
This is Greg. I'll second that motion.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? Oh, sorry, Kara. Go ahead.
I totally support the bike rack, thank you. But the question was, has that fund been replenished by FEMA? I know we had used the funds for FEMA stuff and that, I think you were waiting for that to be
Yeah,
replenished, so that fund is fully available now for all the park work.
it is fully available.
Okay, thank you. That was just a question.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Greg, aye. David, aye.
Adam, aye. Next, we have an update on the changes to the Community Justice Center and the search for volunteers to join the Community Justice Center Board.
Yeah, should I come up here?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Jolly. I'm the director of what's now known as the Chittenden County Community Justice Center as of July 1st. As you might know, I'll just give my attempt today is just to give an overview of the changes and then answer any questions you might have. For those who might not know, community and restorative justice centers across the state use non-punitive methods to seek healing and repair and accountability for crimes committed, sometimes just harm or conflict in the community as well. CJCs vary in the programs they offer, but the state funding goes to post-crime. It's like reactive post-crime, so we can get our referrals from police or the state's attorney or the courts, the judges, et cetera. And we use restorative processes to look for repair and healing and involve the victims if and when they want to engage in any way. And due to some state funding of the last couple of years, Chittenden County has had 4 community justice centers, including Williston, which served you for many, many years, sometimes decades. And due to some state funding of the changes of the last couple of years, that changed, and they were looking to consolidate and offer one contract for the county. So as of July 1st, this fiscal year made that change with the 3 CJCs effectively closing. But knowing that this was coming down the pike, we've used the last year to work collaboratively with the town and city managers of the host communities of those community justice centers, as well as the police chiefs who make referrals. For many, many years, Chittenden County Police have been very, very supportive of the pre-charge, what's known as pre-charge, which are referrals directly from police. And all of our 4 CJCs had taken pre-charge referrals. That wasn't the case in other counties. And so one of the reasons behind the state change is they wanted to make pre-charge referrals an option across the state. And that kind of brought with it changes of contracts. And so the Vermont Attorney General's office now funds the pre-charge restorative justice work. And so this Chittenden County CJC essentially is still doing what the 4 CJCs were doing, but in an administrative hub. So centralized funding going through the city of Burlington, which is who held the Burlington CJC had held the Vermont Attorney General's contract since 2019. And the AGO has always gone for just one contract per county. So the Burlington CJC maintained the contract, but again, trying to work collaboratively with all the towns and cities through this past year, developing an agreement that I think Josh had and maybe shared, but an agreement that I'm happy to share if you haven't seen it with those 3 other host cities / towns, South Burlington, Williston, and Essex. That agreement outlines a steering committee that involves town and city managers and police chiefs all along the way to be meeting regularly to get the data, just to see how it's going. We've met regularly with the police, and as of July 1st, changed our name. We're going to, in the fall, work to do a rebranding involving stakeholders. So essentially, the services will remain the same. We're still providing the same services, but it is through a administrative hub. What we heard loud and clear from volunteers, from police, from towns, stakeholders, that they still wanted localized services so we could have processes take place as close to the towns or communities where the incidents or the crimes happened. So we're still keeping satellite offices in South Burlington and Essex, or South Burlington and Williston in terms of administrative offices, but we still intend to hold restorative processes themselves in all the towns that want us. Like if there were Richmond, I don't believe had hosted restorative processes, but we've met with Chief Cohen. He seems very supportive of finding communal space if needed. And so again, the idea is that these services will continue seamlessly with some potential additional services that in our first year, some of the towns bought into, mostly the host towns, namely victim services that are specifically dedicated. There's a program called Parallel Justice that would specifically reach out to any victims of crime that the police were registering, as well as self-referrals, because for whatever reason, some victims may not choose to report to the police or may not want to. The responsible party may not have ever been caught, but this program, Parallel Justice, offers services whether the person is caught or not, or whether they report to police or not. So again, some of the host towns did opt to pay into that service, as well as what are called community referrals, which is kind of pre-charge. It's not exactly a crime, but harm has happened. Police may have been involved, but they were not going to write an affidavit and refer to the state's attorney. So those are called community referrals. That additional money that some of the towns have spent can go to those. As lastly, a program called Safe Driving, which a number of townspeople take advantage of when they've received a ticket. It could be DUI, it could be distracted driving, a lot of driving related offenses, and safe driving is a course that is optional, but sometimes public defense or attorneys recommend that their clients take them. So that's a third program that would come with some additional money that the other towns and cities have offered this past year. What our attempt is to involve community members as much as possible, both in volunteering in the restorative processes, as well as the advisory board, which generally has taken place through those 4 community justice centers. We've solicited volunteers to serve on advisory boards. Now we're looking for a Chittenden County advisory board We've had an ad hoc committee that was made up of representatives from each of the CABs. So CAB is the acronym for Community Advisory Board. That have developed some draft bylaws, an application process. And so that's live now. I had sent that to Josh in terms of getting the word out through your Front Porch Forum or through any local paper around soliciting volunteers for that CAB, because we really do want local voice involved in this Chittenden County effort. And that, though, while not official, it's not like a board of directors in terms of having authority. It is meant to bring the community voice into the direction of the CJC. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have, whether I've covered that.
Questions? Mary?
Hi there. Mary Hool. Of the folks who go through your process, how many have reoffended? And what is your success rate?
Yeah, great questions. It kind of depends on where the referrals have come from. So pre-charge,
Reoffending
yeah,
matters where the referral comes from?
it does in terms of the pre-charge, like they wouldn't come back to us. Like we have if they came back to us, we could measure that. But given that this has been countywide data and not centrally, it has been municipal based, we don't know yet in terms of now the AGO is a central source of collecting that data. So it depends if they're coming post-charge, post being adjudicated, then you can measure it. And the Attorney General's office did a recidivism study a few years ago that found that it was actually about 4 times less than the traditional recidivism.
Recidivism is 4 times less.
Yeah, but it has some parameters there in terms of who, because
All of those should be measurable because you're throwing money down a hole otherwise. I mean, literally.
well, the criminal justice system also is really expensive, and so it is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So we know through data that the crime research group has done, we already know that it's much, much less expensive than the traditional system, and the recidivism is less when it knows that we can measure. If they haven't,
Statistics should be available to support that though,
They
rather
are.
than out in the ether.
yeah, they're on the
If you're
internet
talking about 2 different areas.
more than 2,
Well,
actually, depending because
pre-charge and, the referral.
yep. So
Can you just give us a quantification? What is the success rate? 50% overall?
overall,
10%?
well, success in our process or success in not recidivating, because that is going to be measured differently. So success in our process is generally between 70 and 85%.
So which one are you talking about? The recidivism or what you consider your process?
Well,
And if you think this is an unfair question, you don't have to answer it.
no, it's not unfair at all. I'd love to, like, there are some differences depending on where the referrals come from, because for a first-time offender who is getting a pre-charge option will have no track record of an offense. There has never been a charge created through the criminal legal system. They're coming pre-charged.
Okay.
And so if they had another offense and then they did go through the criminal legal system, that would appear as a first-time offense.
Okay,
If that
so
makes
the
sense.
pre-charge should kind of tag on to the something might happen later on. Okay.
Yeah, and I would love to, I'm happy to.
No,
send-
you'll be working in my garden if you're gonna sit with me.
Be open to that too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And if you have any, one that would like to work off some time, I got stuff for them to
Well, that's good to know because then,
ask anyone here.
all right.
Any other questions? Thank you for the update.
Sure. And I hope to, like, I'm available, like the Chittenden County CJC website is, you can either burlingtoncjc.org or jc.org. Both websites will work to give you more information, and we'd love to just send you data that can be, distributed if you're interested as we go along in our first year.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Bard?
I think there was an ask for posting Front Porch Forum and elsewhere looking for volunteers.
Mhm.
So we might just follow up on that.
Yeah, I've got the information. I can post it on Front Porch Forum. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that we had this update to the board first, because we hadn't talked about this in about a year. So before I put something out on the website,
Yeah, so far we've gotten out of the 18 applicants, 1 applicant from Richmond.
well, I'll put it out on Front Porch Forum this week, and hopefully that number will increase.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, great.
Thank you for your
And you don't
time.
need for your board, you don't need the select board to recommend somebody. You just take people at large and then. it's your
Exactly.
Process. Okay.
Self-referral through an application process. Yep.
Great.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have consideration of approving a priority agreement with the Vermont Community Development Program loan, which is requested due to the Champlain Housing Trust refinancing the primary mortgage for the apartments on Borden Street with Mascoma Bank. Do you want to give us a little bit of a summary on how this works, Josh? I dug into it a bunch and
Yeah, I might is,
a bunch. I dug into it more
yeah,
than
I
I had
think-
before.
so I think Luther Kinney is here. I thought I saw him.
He's on it.
Online, yeah.
No, I don't know. Yeah, Luther could probably provide a better overview of the request than I could.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking this up this evening. Actually, Amy Dimitrowitz is online and she's going to give us an overview.
Hey, everybody. I'm Amy Dimitrowitz with the Champlain Housing Trust here with Luther. I've actually been in front of the board in the past in 2021. We were talking about this project as well. So this on Borden Street, the Champlain Housing Trust owns and manages the 16 affordable apartments on that street. Back in 1999 is when that property was developed, and the town worked with us to receive a federal grant through the state of Vermont, the Vermont Community Development Program, and then loaned that grant into the project. So with a 30-year term. So we have a primary loan on the property. We've had that with TD Bank since 2021. That loan has become due, and typically we would have refinanced with TD Bank, but we got a better rate from Mascoma, and so we're going to switch over to Mascoma, and therefore we need to come and ask that you all allow us to put Mascoma into the seat of the TD Bank in terms of our priority agreement. The priority agreement is governing what liens are in what position on the property. And the amortizing active debt is always in first position. So we're just asking to switch TD Bank with Mascoma.
Thank you. Bard.
I skimmed the stuff and I don't claim to understand the sequence adequately, but help us understand how the mortgage amounts and process works for a property like this. You know, I'm thinking more of traditional home ownership of a single family unit. It seems clear that doesn't apply here because we're pushing the 30-year window, right? So could you explain sort of this, what gets refinanced, how much sort of generally and why? What's behind
Yes.
this, I guess?
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. Affordable housing finance is very complicated, and very dense, let me say. So we have a number of sources that come in to help build a project and keep it operational. The major ones are the Vermont Housing Conservation Board and the Vermont Community Development Program. We also developed this using a program called the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program, but those rules no longer apply at this point. So, but there is also amortizing debt, just like you would have on your home. So there's a private lender who has a loan on the project. And then behind that loan are all of these affordable housing sources, which typically are not, there's no payment on those other sources, the Vermont Housing Conservation Board, the Vermont Community Development Program, and those other soft subsidy sources. They get secured by the property, but they're behind the primary private debt. Did that answer your question?
Well, it is really helpful, but also could you describe or explain, does the value of that debt or the cash value, is it going up or down or staying the same over time?
I'm going to turn to Luther to get into the details. I think our balance is 638. Luther, I think you'd be better at answering that specific question.
Sure. I mean, the short answer to the question of the overall indebtedness of the property is over time, it pretty much stays the same. And so the grant debt funding sources that Amy discussed, those stay constant over the lifetime of the property for the most part. And then the mortgage debt with the bank, the primary debt, essentially what we're looking to do, our strategy with these properties is use that pool of money to keep up with the capital repairs of the property. So as that gets paid down every 10 to 15 years, we'll generally refinance and pull out more money to cover those capital repairs to the building. That's not the case in this scenario. We're just simply rolling over the existing balance.
So in this case, the outstanding liens on the property will be exactly the same after we do this refinance as they have been since 2021.
Thank you. Fran?
I was on the board when this project came to fruition. I went to the state, help get the grant. My understanding then was that eventually the town would be paid back, I think it was $300,000. And we could then loan it to another project. That has not happened. And we possibly could have other projects that could use that money. Are you ever thinking about paying us back?
That is a really valid question. And you're right, the original grant, it's a federal grant that came through the state to the town of $300,000. I think that it's true back in the day, there was thinking that eventually these projects would be able to pay that loan back. That has not been the case. And the loan becomes due in 2029, March of 2029. So that's coming up soon. It's a 30-year term on that town VCDP loan. The VCDP staff at the state who administer that program have actually asked us to go town by town and request a dismissal of the loans because they are seeing any repayment is very strictly controlled through the existing federal requirements on that money. And they're seeing their primary goal is to keep the housing affordable. So if we were to need to pay this off, what would happen is we would need to borrow $300,000 from someplace else and make payments on that. And that would increase the rent to our current tenants. So I do not expect that we will be paying this loan back. And I think we will be coming with a request ahead of the due date. And we will bring folks from the VCDP program to help kind of explain the request and to talk through and answer any questions about that.
Just say one more thing.
Sure. Fran, go ahead.
I would wish that going forward, you will not sell these projects like it was sold to us and to me in particular. I actually lost an election because I supported this project.
Yeah. You know, I think that they absolutely, the expectation when these loans, because the program does still exist and the town must be the grantee for these particular funds, it's very clear these days that those loans will not get paid back. And I think it was not a misrepresentation, it was just a misunderstanding of what was going to be possible with this money.
I disagree. 15 years ago, when I first got on the board, before I was on the board, there was a 15-year deferment in interest with everything being paid after 15 years. When I came on the board 15 years ago, you had asked for another 15-year deferment, and I was assured 15 years ago that this would be paid with interest. So there was no misunderstanding.
So to keep all of this relevant to the specific agenda item, it sounds like this is going to come up in about 3 years. And the only reason we would demand this be paid back would be so we could finance another affordable housing
No,
project.
No,
That's a revolving
No.
loan.
that's not it at all. So,
So if we get this money back, we cannot put it into the general fund. We can't use it for anything except.
economic development,
So when I dug into it, that is not the case for broader economic development. The funds would be constrained to affordable housing development, was my understanding. So I'm not saying we shouldn't figure out if it gets paid back. What I'm saying is if we want to demand it's paid back, we should have a project that needs $300,000 interest that we would apply that to. Just taking it and putting it in a reserve fund doesn't seem to help anyone. And hashing this out right now, I mean, I'm not sure this is relevant to the specific agenda item either. So I think we'll go to Bard and then we're gonna call it quits on the demanding that this is paid back right now. We can address that at a future time, but that is not relevant to this specific warrant item.
I'm not sure that, what the guidelines are. I haven't studied that.
Yeah, I'm
But
not an attorney, so I don't know
Yeah,
legally what we're actually allowed to do.
it's clear to me from conversations with the housing committee and others that there is a need and benefit from the town having cash to help support expansion of affordable housing in Richmond. And that's sort of what we were talking about almost 30 years ago, Fran. So that's something I think we should not lose sight of. If we wanted that to happen, how could it happen and what are the implications for the existing project?
Agreed. I think there's a having the $300,000 in today's dollars for affordable housing would be a very small step in a long chain of steps and hurdles that would need to be overcome to achieve any affordable housing development. So I don't think, yeah.
Can I say something about that? Would you
Go
be
ahead, Amy.
interested in bringing in someone from the VCDP program to talk about these questions, be able to answer them?
I think that would be great.
Okay. We could maybe start with the Affordable Housing Committee. I'd like to get out ahead of the end date of the mortgage, which is March of 29. So it'd be great to sort of have these conversations and not have to not go over the ground again in a few years. If we could, maybe we could make the request earlier.
Yeah, and I would reach, we can coordinate, put you in touch with the housing committee. I think they're probably the most well-versed in the housing implications of this. Obviously, any changes to that agreement or whatever need to go to the select board, but I think that group will understand the nuances of that request and what's the town's options are going forward and all that. Probably the best.
Thank you.
Kara?
Having been a family member of the property owner who sold the parcel for this development to occur, it was under the understanding that the community was not only going to get affordable housing, but was going to get a benefit down the road. And 300,000 to you might not mean very much for affordable housing, but if it's a percentage of a project, it goes a long way. And for a community that you have it knocked off your agenda item tonight, the group that was gonna, your housing group was gonna present tonight. So I think it is important. And you have 2 select board members who have spoken on the issue about the repayment.
Sure.
So I understand that you want to push it to another night, but I have a couple of key points to make.
Okay.
And they are, if this is just strictly changing mortgage companies, they're changing mortgage companies because they're getting a better interest rate. And it's not the first time they've done this. So what is the benefit of getting a better interest rate, right? It's to have more money to do things. But if they go and remortgage 3 years from now and they take out more money for more improvements, this project was supposed to be able to pay for itself down the road by the fees that they were collecting. They should have had a capital plan for improvements. That all should be in place, or else you shouldn't build affordable housing that you can't maintain and take care of. My concern is if this is just a rollover of the $638,000 rollover, is it for the same exact term? You want to make sure of that they didn't extend their term and then they have to never come back to you. The reason they're in front of you is because you then have the power to say, we're going to talk about how because you're a lien holder. So they wouldn't be here asking you, but for the past 30 years, they've come in front of you all and select boards have repeatedly bobbled their head and said, okay, okay, okay. Okay, whatever you need, whatever you need. That's not fair to the rest of the community who that $300,000 was promised to. So I'm very concerned about that. And it's not a can to kick down the road. This is when you have the ability to say, hey, why don't we talk about this? Why don't we talk about, you can, if you're going to get a better interest rate for the next 3 years, you could start paying us back the difference in the interest rate. We could start building a fund. There are ways to do things, but when the select board does not push back, when I did 2 select board members just pushed back. So thank you. I appreciate that because it was sold to us 30 years ago as it wasn't just funds. That 300,000 wasn't just going to be for affordable housing. It could be for starting up small bits, help assisting small businesses with some funding, some lending. It was economic development, means not just affordable housing. Now, if they've changed that grant program because you've extended it another 15 years or done things like that, and you didn't know the ramifications of your own extension, that's really on the select board. And so I'm asking you not to just be bobbleheads with this. I'm asking you to actively pursue the $300,000 with interest, Bart. I think Bart or David said, I'm sorry, whichever one of you said that. That even if they start paying back the interest, it's something. Because affordable housing for our community also means don't tax out the people who are here. I'm just saying. So I don't mean to get on my soapbox here and preach to you, but Adam, you seem like you really want to kick this can down the road. And some of these people who have had the experience, including Fran Thomas, who was over here and lost an election because of that can being kicked down the road and the promises not being fulfilled. We need to have promises fulfilled, or we can't get into any more affordable housing projects in our community.
Thank you.
Showtime.
Anything else? Mary?
Yes, Mary Hull. I've been following this since we had a town administrator. And I was told, as David aptly remembers, the reason for this $300,000 loan, which Fran advocated for when she was on the select board, this $300,000 was supposed to come back to the community. The community is Richmond. And what we do with it is our business right now. And I was told one of these times when these people came before us all, I went through the entire document load in the vault, photocopied everything, gave it to all the participants who were responsible for helping this get through. And then I met with these folks and I was told that I just don't understand that they're never going to pay this back. Well, that's not the way it's going to be. And for me to sit here and try to absorb why we're not going to get it back, it's unbelievable. We have been presented from the folks with this housing project various updates that they have done over the years because it's going to help the residents. It's going to keep their costs down. It's going to keep their costs from increasing. Well, I understand capital repairs, but when we forgave their interest, I had calculated how much interest they owed us over the term of the loan. If you were paying interest on $300,000 for 27 years to today's date, that's a load of money. And for these people to just, it's like nothing. It's like nothing. Well, to me, it's like oxygen. It's like air. It's like water. It's what we need. Advocating for this to go through in the first place took a community. David Sunshine was on that effort. And when Jeff Urbanik was the town manager, when these folks came before us. But like I said, I've been following this since we had a town administrator. I will not let this rest. I am thankful that David Sanders remembers that because that is very important. For these folks, they can refinance, but I want our lawyer to make sure that we don't lose standing in some way, shape, or form. They have changed the name of the project, I think 4 times now. I don't want us to get the crappy end of the stick. Somebody has to be watching out for Richmond's interest. That $300,000 belongs to the town of Richmond. Like I said, I pray to God I'm still alive when this comes due, and I will be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. What would we like to do with the proposal that's in front of us?
Seems like we need some more information. I don't disagree with anything that's been said here tonight. I find it almost perplexing that after 27 years of mortgage payments that they're not close to retiring the debt on this project, but understanding the exigencies of affordable housing, I'm willing to give them a chance to explain it. And I agree with, as Fran said, a promise is, promises made is a promise that should be kept. I know and admire Amy a lot, but to just sort of by the way, forget about it is not a proper ask. It seems as though we have a fiduciary responsibility to the townspeople to at least dig in on this a little more.
So I guess, could I ask a clarifying question? If we, replacing the mortgage holder on this does not change the date upon which we would need to reevaluate the grant.
Well, it's a loan
extension, right? Sorry, the grant that Richmond, the administered grant loan, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So that 2029 date will come to fruition whether we change the mortgage holder or not.
15 years ago, I was told that their intention is to offload the property and the debt at that point.
No, we can't offload the property. It's perpetually affordable. The other funding sources require that property always be affordable rental housing.
15 years ago, when you had asked for another 15-year forbearance of interest and principal, I said, well, that would put you at the end of the depreciation table. And the reply I got was, well, yeah, that's the point where we offload the property. So it wasn't said, but it was overtly stated that you would leave the debt, walk away from the property, and that 300,000 wouldn't be repaid. I can go back and read the minute.
Knowing how
I'm confident that was said.
Knowing how rental properties, both large and small, and depreciation is handled, for better or worse from a tax perspective, that's not uncommon, and that's separate. That would be separate from all of the debts being repaid and the depreciation starting over.
And 15 years ago, I just have to say, when we had asked for an accounting of costs and profits and everything, I was told with a straight face that the IRS depreciation was a cost. Like it wasn't you, but that was presented to me with a straight face. And I said, no. And I was told I was an idiot and I had no financial experience whatsoever. Well, I've spent over 30 years managing properties and doing taxes, and I know how it works. So there's a lot of bad blood here. I come to the table in good faith to talk. And 15 years ago, I was also disparaged down in Montpelier. And I was told, it came back to me that it was said that David Sander is very anti-affordable housing, and be careful in Richmond because it's hostile toward affordable housing. So there's some bad history here that I had nothing to do with, but it was thrust into my lap.
I'm certainly sorry if you felt at all like someone said that to you.
It was said. It's not what I feel. It's what was said.
Okay, I'm thinking there was a misunderstanding there, but
I can go back and cite the minutes.
Do we want to vote on this tonight or not?
I have a couple questions specifically around this. So I'm just wondering, the ask tonight is to replace TD Bank with the Mascoma in the priority of who gets paid back if this loan basically defaults. And that first position is with TD Bank right now in the agreement, and we're basically asking to switch to Mascoma. Have you closed on the Mascoma loan already, or when is that closing? Sorry if I missed that.
Good question.
scheduled in July, Luther?
Scheduled in July. And will it close if we do not make that change to the agreement?
So the last piece of the approval process for us to close with Mascoma is the signing of this priority agreement with Richmond. We need to close by July 19th. That's our deadline to close with Mascoma. So we are hoping that we can at least get the extension of the priority agreement, which, as you said, has no changes except replacing TD Bank and Mascoma And as Amy said before, all of the issues that have been raised tonight, we can still continue and discuss through, because it doesn't change the term of the original note with Richmond.
There's a lot of information that I would really like to share with you all in terms of the capital work that we've done on the property because we've been able to refinance. So I would really welcome the opportunity to really get into these issues. And I would ask that we at least do this extension now and keep the town in the same position behind Mascoma, and then accelerate sort of our resolution of that longer term question of the $300,000.
And did sorry if I missed this too, did the primary loan amount change at all?
Still 638.
No, still the same. Okay. Okay. And has there been any equity on that? Or is it still just the balance sheet is still the same?
Yeah, I think they're just paying off the balloon and they're not pulling any equity out. So they're not, I think it was said they're not pulling any equity out. They're not taking any cash out of the property at this point. It would just be a 1-for-1.
Why are they coming 15 minutes before this signing is due? We need more time on this. God.
Bard?
And I'm sorry, I'm not as organized as I should be, but looking at the documents, I thought I saw 3 different financial figures of 412,000, 775,000, and 638,000. That trajectory and the reasons for it is not currently clear to me.
So we did include in the materials we forwarded to you the balance sheet for the property. And so the amount of the total loan with TD Bank is $638,000. That includes 3 properties owned by Champlain Housing Trust. So there are 2 other properties and 2 other municipalities which are bundled with that loan. Of that $638,000, the balance that's attributable to the Richmond property is $286,000.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. That's helpful to understand. And there's the other communities, I'm assuming, that are involved with this would be affected if we were to stop the process of agreeing to replace the name of the bank in the priority order.
The 3 properties will be impacted if we're not able to close on the refinancing. That's correct. We only have one other priority agreement out there, which is being signed by Williston.
I see. Okay. And when sorry to ask my questions, I'm just trying to get to the end of this. When we originally had agreed to this and put this in place, is there something in the contract that says that we will always be the second in that order? Is that kind of locked into the original contract? So it kind of is what it is.
I don't, the priority agreement was originally decided back in 2001, I believe, was the first priority agreement with the town of Richmond. That's how the project was negotiated among the lenders, and it has stayed in that lineup ever since. In order to change the lineup, it would require all of the parties on the priority agreement to agree to that change. It's very uncommon for the lineup in the priority agreements to change.
Yep, makes sense. Okay, thank you. And then last question I have is just what's the savings? I don't have it right in front of me. I can find it, but what's the savings with this refinance in terms of rate?
It's approximately a 0.5 point percentage rate. Are you looking for a monetary amount?
Yes, please.
Yeah, that would be good if you have it, or I can calculate it from that.
3-year term.
I don't have the exact amount in front of me. I believe it's around $4,000 per year for the entire loan. But I would have to double check that. I could email that information to you.
And this is a straight refinance of the TD balance, not a cash out increase.
That's correct. We're just rolling over the existing balance of the loan.
Okay. And then we have just what I'm trying to understand is if we pass this tonight to continue and get that savings as part of this, we have contracted opportunity to discuss this in terms of the repayment aspect of this, and it doesn't change that regardless of what we do tonight.
This is the only chance we have to hold them.
That's
So I
the part I'm
think,
not-
so Amy and Luther, if I'm wrong, but I think there's a balloon payment due in that
Yeah.
March of 2029 to the town.
Correct.
There's no payments made on this in the last 27 years. There's a balloon payment at the end. So
Correct.
that, I think it's like $400,000 and change that's then due to the town in that March of 2029. So
Correct.
that's what I think Amy is saying, that they would come back, sooner rather than later to start that discussion about if that payment's being made and if there are reasons for not wanting to make it.
And what happens is there a contract in place in terms of what happens if that doesn't happen?
I don't know what happens if it doesn't happen.
If it doesn't.
If they don't
If
pay,
they don't pay that?
if they don't pay in March of 2029.
Well, it'd be a lien on the property.
Yeah.
Is that,
It'd be a lien on the property.
I guess that's probably the simplest answer, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to get to is like, that's really if we stop this, we're essentially just,
It's costing it.
we're costing ourselves and other people money, where it's just a replacement of a bank. It's 1-to-1. It doesn't add in more, it doesn't take out anything. It's just it's a tool. I understand. It's a tool to utilize a change point as a point to hold someone to the agreement. And I don't think that's going to change the outcome.
They could refinance a larger amount. I mean, they need to be aware that they were requesting that they would pay back the it's part of their planning process, right?
Mhm.
Part of their planning process is, well, if we're gonna go back to Richmond and ask them to forgive the 300,000. Well, what they're hearing from Richmond right now is we want our money. So if you got to refinance, maybe you think about refinancing this property in Richmond and not have it bulked in with 2 other properties. And you take some of the equity out of it and repay the debt to Richmond. But my question is, are we second in line as a lien holder to the full 638 with the other 2 properties involved? Are we only second in line to our portion of the 3 properties? Well, I can't read that from here. See what it specifically is our portion of, because I mean, the number was thrown out here at the town of Richmond at 638,000.
We're at 40.
Yes, so if I could address that, if that's all right.
Yeah.
The other 2 properties are also encumbered by the mortgage with TD Bank and would also be with Mascoma. Our loan to value here is very, very low. I mean, the property's total value here are much greater than the mortgage balance we have outstanding with TD Bank.
So I just want to understand what they're saying, because I just need to be very clear here. This is 3 properties mortgaged into 1. So that's problematic in itself.
They're separate. The mortgages are separate. There's 1 loan, but the mortgages are all separate.
There's one what?
One loan, but separate.
Separate mortgages. The properties are separately mortgaged.
Gee, can I have one of those? But so my point is it's part of their planning process, because maybe they would choose, if the rates are really low, if they're getting a really good low rate, maybe they would choose to refinance now rather than 3 years from now. I just wanted to put it out there. That's why I'm asking all these questions, because it helps them plan too. If they're not going to go to a commercial lender like this, then they might have to just start looking for other grant resources to do what they need to do. But thank you. I appreciate you letting us ask these questions. And yes, I agree with you, Caitlin. We all know I already all know before we even sat down that you guys were going to go ahead and allow them to switch their lender, as long as they aren't increasing. Well, if they're increasing their principal, it would be to pay Richmond back. And they're not increasing their term, but if their savings is $4,000 times 3, then that's what their savings is. And it's not necessarily, I don't know if Richmond is the highest number of the 3 mortgages or not. There's planning, and I don't think you guys should let this go. If you guys approve this tonight, you should immediately ask them to come before you to ask what their plan is in 3 years, so that they could start their process now to do whatever they got to do and not come in last minute 3 years from now, or bring that other group that's gonna come in here and tell you everybody's forgiving this debt. I don't care if everybody's forgetting that they're giving this debt. That's not what we're gonna do if we really care about doing things in our community. Because I fear that funds are being mortgaged or used on other properties in other towns rather than staying in this community that was promised. Thank you.
Bart, did you have something?
I was just going to suggest a concept that we could modify a motion to include language about, with the expectation that we would get our 300,000 plus interest back, and that we would begin discussions of that ASAP, with the expectation that payback would occur by March 2029. It, it doesn't have legal force, but it has the force of what we put in our motion, which also would include that we don't want to extend the priority agreement past March 2029, at least in today's motion.
I have one more bite.
Mary, go ahead.
I agree with David. Affordable housing is necessary. I'm not against affordable housing. And if the community, whoever they are, I don't care, they've changed their names 4 or 5 times over the years, and ownership of the property. If they truly cared about affordable housing and finding folks an affordable place, they would have structured years ago how to get ownership into their hands. They have not done this. However, I really appreciate David's memory on this. And if you can say, we will approve it and we will sign, their due date is the 19th. So I want them here before that date. So if you approve this, you need to say, we will not sign it until X date, not the 19th. I mean, they can have it on the 19th, but the 18th or the 17th, so that they get in here ASAP and we meet with them. Not put it off and say, oh, no, we're going to wait until we're going to wait January of 2029. You need to hold them accountable now. Don't give them a date that is closing tonight. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
I'm sorry.
Chelsea, go ahead.
Thanks, Chelsea Brooks. I just had a quick question regarding this loan, and whether or not Champlain Housing Trust is paying closing costs.
Yeah.
On the refinance?
Yes.
Yes, there will be closing costs associated with the loan. Those are going to be paid by the properties, the 3 properties that are involved in the loan.
So the closing costs aren't rolled into the loan. Is it the rental?
I don't have, yeah, I mean, when we have the closing date set and all the approvals, the final loan will be closed out, but we're planning to pay the closing costs from the property's operating accounts.
So meaning the tenants, or I don't know what you mean by the properties.
Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, the property's operating accounts. So yes, that is funded with tenant rents. That's our only source of income.
Okay. So, and is this, so just to make sure I'm clear, this loan that you're moving from TD to Mascoma, it's only a 3-term loan. It's up after 3 years. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, our loan with the town of Richmond is up in March of 29.
So what is the current maturity date of the loan with TD?
The maturity date was in May, and we got a 90-day extension in order to get the closing documents done. So we need to close by July 19th.
And is this a 30-year loan that you're trying to get to Mascoma?
It's a standard 5-year.
Commercial properties like that.
So do you know the figure of the closing costs?
Should.
Please.
I have an estimated closing costs of $15,000.
Just to put for the board while you're looking, I'm asking simply because if you're saving 4,000, like it's just like when I refined my mortgage. If you're saving 4,000 a year, but the closing costs are 18,000, you're not really saving.
They don't have an option to refinance.
We have to refinance the loan regardless, because it's the 5-year term with TD Bank is up. So whether we stayed with TD or we went with Mascoma, we would still be renewing a new mortgage for the primary debt service. All that we're doing is we're moving to Mascoma. So we would still have closing costs if we rolled it over with TD Bank.
Okay.
They don't have, yeah, they don't have the, that's a good point. So this isn't like a 30-year mortgage that they're refinancing 5 years in. This is a 5-year balloon commercial mortgage. They don't have a choice but to refinance it right now.
Yeah, I was just wanting to know if they stay with the same lender, are they still gonna pay closing costs or the same closing costs? Like,
Yeah.
when you're talking about savings, it's not simply the interest rate that's.
I mean, I would imagine they've vetted all that out to try to.
But I haven't seen the numbers and I didn't see them included in the packet.
So what do we want to do with the priority agreement now? I don't think we will not have a meeting. Our next meeting is on the 20th. We will not have a meeting or they are required to have this executed to close on their loan. So we don't.
My proposal is that we include a clause, or I'm writing on a clause right now, to include the language that we would pursue this and that negotiations to achieve that would be initiated by, I'm just picking a date, September 30th. We have until March 2029. And I know it gets complicated for CHT, so I don't think it's unreasonable to think we're gonna solve something in a meeting or a week or a month. But given that it's my thought we should get it started, and then we have many months to resolve it and discuss if it's feasible, how much, when, what the impact is on the project.
The only word I asked, part is that you say, put them, not negotiate, but put them on notice. That at this time, the select board would be wanting to find out their plans for the 300,000, right? I mean, because you're not negotiating right now technically, so why would you say that?
So the clause as I've written it, so I'll take it out of the motion as a whole, with a clear expectation that the town of Richmond will be repaid the town's investment of 300,000 plus TBD interest, and that negotiations between the town and CHT to achieve this will be initiated by September 30th.
Negotiations or discussions?
Discussions, sure.
Because you're basically demanding your note be paid upon its maturity.
It's a standard demand note. That's
So-
what you're doing.
Okay. That makes sense. Do we want to, just to be clear, are we 100% demanding that we get paid back with cash, or would we be comfortable being paid back in kind? Do we want to work that in there? I mean, if our goal is to, I mean,
In kind,
Okay.
I just want to make sure.
yeah, so if our goal is to further affordable housing development with this in some way, and Champlain Housing Trust is in the business of carrying out further housing development, if we could get a
Management.
very meticulous accounting of how they would roll that money into a further development and roll that into more development instead of just getting the cash and spending it. So just to make clear, we're not just demanding a check. We want that money to be rolled into some project or given to the town or something.
As phrased, it's agnostic on the method, it just says.
Yeah.
Leave it open.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I support Bard's approach. I think,
I do too.
I think putting a pin in it and saying, we've had these discussions before and so let's redound this to writing.
So can I try or shall I try the motion?
Yes, but I want to add or frame,
Should Caitlin try the motion?
maybe we can combine.
Modify it.
Yeah, so the words that I want to use is this approval is granted without waiver of any of the town's existing rights and remedies under the VCDP loan and mortgage. And the town directs staff to, and then whatever, and then that's.
I
what
was
we-
gonna suggest we put those words at the end of our draft motion.
Yeah. Okay, so with a clear representation. This will be
I
fast.
really appreciate the attention and time you're putting into this. This is not inconsequential. Thank you.
I will just observe while Caitlin is working on craft of this, it's that this comes up intermittently every time we've had this conversation. There are questions about it, and it strikes me it's not possible or plausible to resolve it as part of a select board meeting agenda item in 10 or 20 or 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And that then pursuing discussions where CHT can prepare and talk about impact and what methods might be plausible in a planful way. I'm hoping is fair to them.
I mean, I would say I don't think we need to get the legalese of this correct, because nothing we pass is gonna supersede the agreement already in place.
Yeah, but this, I do like that you are putting it, and when you say you can't solve it in 20 minutes, Bart, I do like that you are saying that you're at least putting it in writing in the minutes and having it on record. And that you're doing it through a motion, because that is that's the strongest thing the select board can say, is to make a motion saying such.
Yeah, I just say I don't think we need to. I think that our motion can be clear in the words.
Yeah.
With. I just know that like when I shoot things off into the perplexity and get legal language back and then shoot it to DRM, they laugh at me.
Yeah, no, it's not meant to be legal language. It's just meant to be clear.
And grammatic.
Yeah.
I think we spent our 15 minutes.
So I just want to say I appreciate the CHT staff coming tonight, because this is not obviously the most pleasant conversation for them or the easiest one to have. So I appreciate your patience with this.
Yeah.
And I do want to say the tone tonight's a lot more respectful than it was the last time. I appreciate that.
I appreciate the opportunity to start this conversation. I think it's going to be in everyone's best interest for us to really delve into the details. So I think it's a great idea. I really support that motion. I'm wondering what we should do for next step, if we should, as I mentioned earlier, go to the Affordable Housing Committee, or we should start with town manager. So
I think at least one or two of us
yeah.
On the select board, and Josh, maybe we can ask you to set that up, and even one or two people from the housing committee who can
Great.
represent their interest. I know
I'll be there.
they're poised to have a conversation with us, and having this on their radar will be helpful. And I think it should be a warned meeting where we do it formally, whether it's virtually or in person or hybrid.
Since.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
This is Caitlin. I move to approve the priority agreement for the Vermont Community Development Program VCDP loan, which is requested due to the Champlain Housing Trust refinancing the primary mortgage for the apartments on Borden Street with Mascoma Bank, and to name town manager Josh Arneson as the duly authorized representative to sign the agreement on the behalf of the town. This approval is granted without waiver of any of the town's existing rights and remedies under the VCDP loan and mortgage, and with the clear expectation that the town of Richmond will be repaid the town's investment and interest, and that discussions between the town and Champlain Housing Trust to achieve this will be initiated by September 30th, 2026.
Thank you.
This is David. I'll second.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion?
No.
Bart, aye.
Favor.
Caitlin, I.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Adam, aye.
Thank you.
Amy, thank you, Luther.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Amy.
Caitlin, can you email me that
Yep.
motion?
What, you didn't get it, Josh?
Well, I'll just save Duncan time going through the audio. Have that written out, that'd be great.
Just
Next we have consideration of approving the 3-9050 3-acre permit documents for the notice of intent for Southview for submittal to the State Department of Environmental Conservation.
I am going to recuse myself on this one.
Look what my security camera just got.
It's like the one that is tipping over a trash can.
Welcome.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Evening.
So I'm Andres Terizo with Watershed Consulting. Met with the board a few times. I'm Dave Marshall from Civil Engineering Associates.
Hey.
Dave supervised the engineering portion of the project, so wanted him to come along in case there was anything specific related to the engineering. Happy to give the board kind of just the overview, if that's what you're looking for, kind of what we have package-wise, what the plan is from this point moving forward.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, I think I reviewed it. I'm sure, I assume a lot of people did, but a lot of people probably did not. So
Sure.
high level overview would be great.
So the high level overview, we completed a phase 1 study for the town, basically putting together package of conceptual plans, kind of draft application. So that all happened. And then we've been engaged by the town basically to carry that forward to prepare what's called a full notice of intent. So this is the full 3-acre application. So the work kind of that we've completed as a part of that included several kind of rounds of some additional field work at the site. So we went back up to the site. Dave's crew collected some additional survey at the site. We had a utility locator. We located some telephone line on the site. We collected some additional soil tests, infiltration tests at some key areas. And I did pretty extensive walk through some kind of key components of the site where a lot of the stormwater ends up kind of down below on the power line side of things. And so I think, one of the biggest key things that's changed, so the state kind of changed their interpretation of one of the standards kind of midstream, specific to these orphan permits. So this is an orphan permit because the town of Richmond is the only permittee. So there's a number of these in the state. And so through some other technical reviews that we were going through, basically we had some discussions with the state about their wish to basically further apply some language in the rule related to this 10% language. Essentially, all it means is that the state is saying in a lot of cases where previously we were showing very specifically mapped areas on people's property in terms of how stormwater would need to flow off. It would have to be a certain length, a certain width, a certain slope, and those would be highlighted, and those would be theoretically then protected in an easement. And the state, I think, determined that really there's no good way to do that with these orphan permits. And so they use this language in the rule, this so-called 10% language, that basically says that if we as designers feel comfortable with the flows and the soils, and we can confidently say that basically the way things are occurring on the site are close enough to the rule without specifically having to discreetly lay out all these practices, they'll accept that. And so that's really the focus of a lot of the work that we did, was having like the dialogue with the state. And I think at this point, coming to an agreement in terms of some key areas on the site, meeting that rule. And so what that means kind of in on the ground practices, we don't necessarily need to identify anything specifically outside of the right of way that is going to be highlighted within the permit. The only things that are within the permitted treatment practices per se are 2 underground chamber systems. And so that's the other big change, is that we originally started with 4. We've since backed it out to 2. We've gotten rid of 2. And the way that we did that was basically utilizing these other areas of the site where there's basically just natural treatment occurring. And I mentioned the area of the power lines. It's an interesting site because half the site is very, very sandy. And half the site is actually poor soils. And so the whole side that drains out down to 89, I walked that power line, and it is like beach sand down there. And so there is no stormwater making its way down that hill. The other side of the site, there's groundwater and there's poor soils. So there is runoff occurring. So, but the fortunate thing is a lot of the site that exists, the impervious area, do drain down that other direction. So through the analysis that we have, we've kind of detailed that out to the state, and proved it out through ways of doing infiltration testing to actually show the state that, hey, there really is good soil capacity here. So the other big thing we did, we completed an updated cost estimate So the cost estimate, we were working with Ben Waterman, who's a contractor, and a professional estimator. So his estimate for the two chamber systems was $358,000. So back when I did my estimating, which was basically just a concept level crude estimate, I was coming up with $360,000. That was about a year ago. So I think it was just coincidence, because mine was for 4, his was for 2. So prices have obviously gone up quite a bit too in the past year, but anyway, it's not more expensive than when we started. So we're about $2,000 less.
The 2 chambers, are those the same size as 2 of the 4 chambers we were originally?
Oh, you're saying, did we actually bring some volume into those other ones to compensate? No, they're
Okay.
We did not.
So costs have essentially doubled in that time?
Essentially, well, I think the ones that we're left with were the 2 most complicated ones.
Oh,
So I
okay.
don't think
Okay.
they've necessarily doubled, no, but they've increased quite a bit. And like I said, like he's getting pricing from like EJ Prescott and really doing a more thorough job of fleshing out the costs. So I would rely on his versus what we did originally, which is really just back of the envelope, kind of a starting point. So that's kind of where we stand. I mean, we're ready. We've been in constant communication with the state. We're ready at this point to submit something to them ASAP. The town has already paid. There's an application fee. You've already paid that. So, I think we're ready within the next few days to basically get it in front of them. I think the sooner the better, because obviously we're in crunch time now with your grant. And we want to give them the maximum amount of time to review, and I'm sure they're going to have some comment. So that process takes time. So. And
No,
Dave?
I think what came out of this particular process that I'm most excited for the individual homeowners is that under the previous approach from the state of Vermont, every time we drew something on a plan that said, hey, these are the drops of water that come off your driveway, you need to maintain your lawn in such a way that we can always ensure that those drops of water will be treated in that area on the lawn. And it essentially became an encumbrance on every property every time we drew something. Now, we were demonstrating full compliance with the state rules, but it also, through the back door, became an encumbrance on every property owner anytime they wanted to do something in that magical treatment area. So through this particular process, we've been able to essentially, in a more broad brush, demonstrate how the intent is being met without having to get into that fine detail and in turn create that encumbrance on the individual property owners. So that's what we like ultimately, not only for your project, but also a lot of others too. But this is one we're able to integrate here to basically put everybody in a more comfortable position going forward.
Seems like a huge.
We heard a lot about that.
Yeah, that seems like a important piece and a huge success.
Yes, I would agree.
Raise your hand.
I have a mechanical question. So we have the bid document from Waterman Site Works, Ben Waterman. And the bottom line figure, how long is this bid good for? I just couldn't see that.
This is an estimate. This is a construction estimate. It's not necessarily a bid to actually construct the project. So I don't think he has those terms.
So it's an estimate as opposed to a bid per se.
Yes, correct.
All right.
Yeah, Stephen.
Online, Stephen?
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen Eichenberger, 504 Southview. I think you've all done great work, and Andre, I remember walking next to you when you walked around the properties up on Southview. So I appreciate everything that you've done. A couple of comments. Although the written material was posted on the agenda, the actual schematics or the plan was not included in the meeting materials. And we saw that today. When we saw it, we were concerned because it seems to be missing some important infrastructure items, at least with respect to the intended work on our property. We contacted John Scott, who had done a lot of the work, and he concurred that the plans are missing some pretty important infrastructure. Right now, it's missing, it includes an 18-inch pipe that comes underneath our driveway, but does not include a 24-inch pipe that runs down our property and takes the large amount of water that flows off Joan Avenue. And that comes into catch basin number one, which which I think you pick up, but it doesn't include catch basin number two, which is above. So I think first of all, I think you need to have accurate plans to submit to the state. But more fundamentally, I just question whether the plans that you have are taking account of the full water flow that's coming down from Joan Avenue through our property that is included in a 24-inch pipe that comes into that catch basin. And I'll tell you that the amount of water that flows through that 24-inch pipe is enormous.
I was the one who spoke with John Scott today after he very kindly reviewed these after a full day of work.
Sure.
And that 24-inch pipe runs under our driveway. And we have a catch basin that it runs into, an upper catch basin, and then it runs under the lawn, kind of coming in. Do you see that arrow that you have to CBA number 1? That's sort of the angle that 24-inch pipe comes in. So you only have one pipe coming in, which is the 18-inch pipe that runs along Southview, which goes under the lower part of my driveway. But you do not have a 24-inch pipe, which takes all of the water that comes from Joan Avenue and above and has a torrential flow in any rainstorm that will enter the catch basin CBA number A1. So his concern, and he qualified saying, I'm not an engineer, but he thinks that the amount of water that's not accounted for, your chambers may not be large enough.
Yeah, so I appreciate all that. And it's good that you guys picked up on that. I think that I'm confident that it does, even though I understand exactly what you're saying. The assumed catchment area for that chamber is actually very large, like what we planned. It actually extends above your house, covers the 3 homes above, it covers Joan Ave, and then even the home way above Joan Ave. So it goes way up the hill. So I think we're planning for, that full collection area, and I could certainly double check that. And I'm happy to talk with him or go back out and kind of field verify what you're saying, just to make sure that area is correct. But I think we have that right.
Well, I think it's really important for you to include existing infrastructure in any plan that's submitted to the state. And I don't know how we can approve a plan that doesn't contain all of the infrastructure that's currently there.
And we're supportive of all this whole concept, but it's just, we think it's very important to make sure that the actual plans submitted to the state include the infrastructure that's there.
Because if, for whatever reason, these chambers aren't large enough and all of a sudden the overflow of water is on our property and we have a lake at the bottom of our land and what we have is not included in the plan, that's very important to us to make sure that everything that exists is in the plan and documented.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in, Dave Marshall here. What Andres was saying is like all of that particular neighborhood area that does come through that 24-inch pipe is included as part of what we call a contributory watershed area. So the chambers are designed based on a very large area. What's not shown, just as you pointed out, is how those drops of water are conveyed to this particular chamber. So yes, we should be showing those particular features, but it's still the same amount of contributory area that we need to basically treat a certain percentage of that runoff is being directed to those particular chambers, and those neighborhoods, those particular buildings that Andres has mentioned are all accounted for. So that's not depicted on this particular plan that's on screen, but actually on one of the planning documents that is used to model how much water comes off of that particular area and ultimately how these particular chambers are sized.
I think just, you wanna,
Is that what where it is depicted? Is that in this packet so I could scroll through
Yeah.
it? Is that's in this set of plans?
it is, yeah, if you keep going to one of the maps.
So if I understand the ask, they just want to see that existing infrastructure of a 24-inch pipe, yes?
Yep.
Can I ask a question also? Are there any other elements of existing infrastructure that trouble you by their absence?
Yes, there are 2 additional 4-inch pipes that run into that lower culvert. And John told me that if you were to remove the rocks, which I don't think has been done, and if you actually looked into that catch basin that's on our lower lawn, you would see all of the pipes that run into that current catch basin. And that has not been done.
So there are at least 2 elements of infrastructure that you would hope to see that you do not see.
Three, 2 4-inch pipes and 1 24-inch pipe.
And potentially 4 in upper catch basin as well.
And then there's an upper catch basin that you haven't included as well.
Further up by your drive, further
Yes.
towards your driveway. Yep.
Yeah, so under the we have a culvert going under the lower driveway and the upper driveway. And, I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars creating this system to avoid having a lake at the bottom of my front lawn. And I don't want that to be compromised. And I don't know if you really fully understand the amount of water that runs down through my property from above me. It is, it's significant. I mean, to the point where the 24-inch pipe that you haven't included in the July 2023 flood completely porpoised with like 2 tons of stone on top of it.
So I think one just point to understand too is that the design that we're putting forward hasn't manipulated the drainage area at all. The same amount of water flow that is coming down to this point is still making it down to that point. So there's no diversion of additional water to that point. So really the system at hand is really just capturing that existing water and managing it and bringing it to the exact same place that it's going currently. So I think that's just an important point.
Is there a concern with these, the 24-inch pipe and the 4-inch pipes concentrating the water too much?
I mean, I'm just relaying what when John looked at the plans, he said you have a lot of water that's not really documented that can flow pretty quickly. And he just was concerned that the chamber may not accommodate that and that it just should be on the plan. So when the state approves it, it's there.
Right.
So if I can answer your question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Putting the chamber aside, Andre's point is that we're not changing anything in regards to how the drops of water are moved to that particular central point. So if there's a problem today, before the chambers are installed, then perhaps that should be something also we should be talking about on how to fix. But if there's no apparent issue with the primary culvert that crosses the roadway today, then we know the system at least performs adequately. And that if that's not the case, then we should be talking with the highway department to basically figure that out, because regardless of the chambers, it's still an issue, or it may be an issue. But if it's not an issue, all we're doing is tapping off that first inch of runoff so that we can treat that before it gets into the stream. Because again, that's where most of our contaminants are from. It's that first inch of runoff during every storm event. So if we can capture that and treat it, then anything else that's coming in after that is cleaner, and therefore we can just let that bypass through the existing culvert into the receiving water.
Yeah, so just, I know the map is hard to interpret, but if you look at chamber A is the one that we're talking about, so that's with the aqua star. And if you look at the it's labeled as DA 25. That's the collection area that we've assumed. So the home, I think that the homeowners that we're talking with are right above the chamber A. But then you can see that the drainage area extends, to the homes up on Joan Ave and then even above. So we've assumed a quite of a large collection area already with the sizing. So, but I mean, I guess the point is we can research that further and we can get that on the plan.
Right. And can you do a site visit with this plan and share that with the homeowners so that you both have an understanding of the water flow?
This plan is posted with the packet too.
Yeah, I apologize. Initially it was not. I posted this 2 Fridays ago. I was out of town last week and I uploaded everything to the website, I double checked it, thought everything was on there. And then I think it was Paige or Sarah emailed me and I didn't get it till this morning when I looked at my emails and said, oh, it didn't actually upload. So my apologies. I didn't mean to not show the plans. I just didn't, I think it was like a larger file. It just didn't take up to the website. So that's why it was a little late. I apologize for that.
Great.
Remind me, I thought we were working under some kind of deadline to perfect this application relative to the grant. Wasn't that in August or?
I got an extension.
Yeah, so we do have to have it, accepted by the end of August so we can get the grant money?
Yeah, I mean, really the middle of August, because has to be time for you guys to get your reimbursements and stuff. So the time is running short.
So you'll make the commitment to fix these minor plan issues and in a hurry.
Yes.
Okay.
So those pipes that we talked about are in this sketch?
No.
No,
Okay.
that's just the yellow is the full collection area.
Okay.
So the pipes, I think, we're gonna have to return and take a look at that and
That's
update the plan.
You know that one, okay.
And I think we'll have to coordinate. Those are on their land. I can coordinate with them in terms of the time. We can come take a look at that.
That would be great.
Yeah, we're
Anytime. That'd be great.
Okay.
Do you guys have each other's contacts? Yeah, or actually, I guess, if you guys want to email me your contact information, I can get it connected to Andres.
Sure. And I think Andre and I have actually talked back when you were doing the soil boring, and I think you met John Scott.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But yeah, I'll send you my and I sent you an email tonight as well, Josh, so you can just use that.
Okay, and this is
Nancy Carlson.
Nancy Carlson, okay.
And Stephen Eichenberger. But you can use my email address.
Okay, I'll get you guys connected.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to proceed tonight in terms of approving permit documents for the NOI.
One thought is maybe approve it pending the changes that Andres will make when he meets with the homeowners. And that way, once those changes get made, we can still submit it this week, knowing that time is a bit of the essence.
That makes sense.
Perfect.
That'd be great. Thank you.
We'll have to talk. We'll have to confirm the survey timeline to go out there. I know we can't do that ASAP, but
we might be able to just do it in the field with individual people.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that type of a motion rather because the next meeting's not till July 20th. So whether you get it figured out later this week or early next, it saves us a few days.
Right.
And you can get it done ASAP, whatever that means, without coming back here again.
Okay.
Well, the staff resources, the state level are probably the bottleneck. So the sooner we get it into their hands, the better.
Yep.
They hold the cards.
Ready for a motion.
Oh, you got another question?
Nancy and Stephen, does all the water that comes, does that come from like the little sort of brook between Carpenters and the Yankees?
No, the water comes,
Like
there's not, you really have to come and see. We have so many pipes that are directing water under our driveway, and it's not just that little runway that comes from Joan Avenue. I wouldn't specifically say it's just 2 properties. I think it's more than 2 properties that funnels down through that area between the Carpenters and the Bianchis.
But it's all from, because Joan Ave kind of goes, it crests like kind of around the Moody line.
Yeah, I'm not like the person to tell you exactly where it's coming from, but it's just coming from off of our property.
During a heavy rain, you should bring a kayak.
Yeah, does it seep out of the hill or is it a stream?
It is a very, when it comes down, when it rains, it is more than a stream. I would call it I'd call it a brook. Okay.
And I'd just like to point out that some of that water is coming from not within a 3-acre area. Correct? Yes.
Is that a question?
Yes.
For me?
Yeah.
They're
from.
Looks like maybe a little bit, yeah, the top, the top of it,
Anything uphill.
the top, well, the top
Something
of it.
uphill.
Yeah.
And then my next question, I'll try to make these very quick, is the amount of runoff that you're like predicting going into this chamber based on theoretical data, like this whole like phosphorus reduction is? Or like, do you do some sort of measurement like to?
No.
It's gonna be this, you know, because what Nancy's concern is that like if it's based on theoretical data, but in real life, they're seeing in real life a lot more water.
Yeah.
That's the concern, I guess. How do you come up with that calculation?
So the state has accepted tools to look at that, and we use modeling tools.
So it's
Because,
theoretical data.
yeah, it's modeling data, yeah, which is standard accepted practice for looking at these.
But in real life, it could be double that.
Well, every single rainfall is gonna be different.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
there's no way to.
Right,
Every single one.
Right, but
You know,
it
in
could
terms
be, you know, the amount of like natural spring, like I have natural springs.
Absolutely.
like, Coming out of the hill up there,
Yeah.
so, you know, like they don't, you know, with some like overview predict that or know that to be some
Right.
way.
Mhm.
Can they tell by looking at like the ground through a satellite image that this is?
Well, yeah, I mean, you use the best available data, and, you know, the modeling tools inherently are conservative.
Okay.
And this is more, as Dave was saying, it's more of a treatment study, so we're not really looking at managing those really extreme flows. Obviously, we want them to be able to pass through the system, but the goal that the state is asking the town to meet is more of just these small everyday storms.
And then
Yeah.
if it's like a
1 inch
deluge of water, the water sort of just flows out. Or something.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
If the chambers were full in this case, essentially the water would be following the same route it does now, because
Yeah.
it's using that existing, so it's really just extra capacity and not.
3 more quick ones, I'm trying to. Did you ever look at the marshy end on Joan Ave and consider that as a treatment area, as like a natural pond kind of thing?
I think you're talking kind of down by you, I believe your place, right?
Yeah. Like,
Yes,
so all the water from like the 4 houses down there goes and sits in there.
yes.
And like sinks into the ground. So like when I see on your plan that you're saying like over in DA 12, like that's, you know, been essentially disconnected and sort of the same things happening on the other end of Joan Ave. Say if we could disconnect that, would that affect, could we do smaller chambers and it save us money?
Right.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with this. I'm just.
So I guess, no, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I think that's just a good example of how the whole western side of the site is much different. So I did look at that area, and it doesn't just sit there, it does continue down. There's a culvert, and that is a really low area where water collects, but I think that that's more wetland type vegetation in there. And it's a very different situation than over here. Here, it's where that water is actually absorbing into the ground, and you're just not getting that same capacity over on that side. I took one look at it.
I mean, I know there's a
Oh, wait.
culvert, like if that were
Yeah.
blocked off and then the water stayed in there.
Right, so if that were blocked off, then you would be doing essentially more of a structural practice. You couldn't just rely on that kind of on its own accord. Because,
Just want to know that you looked at it.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Should this confined drainage be removed from the ratio of private to public?
That could be, I mean, that's getting a little bit away from what the state is asking. I think you're talking more about who pays, and, you know, there's the split between the impervious surface owners.
Yeah, I mean.
That could be a discussion for the town. I don't really know.
All right, so that would be, okay. And the lot encumbrance, like, I'm sorry, I missed the beginning part of it. I was on my way here. But like if a driveway is quote disconnected because the water drains to the lawn, the state's saying, oh, then you have to encumber that lawn, like. What would you be doing that wouldn't like make more driveway, I guess, or I don't know. It
I
just
think that
seems
was one
kind
of
of
the
like,
important updates is so through the process, they do not have to so that process is not happening anymore. The state has accepted a broader picture of the entire thing instead of specific encumbrances on individual properties. So there will be no encumbrances on individual properties.
It's more of a broad brush assessment of.
There will be on the town-owned property where the chambers are in, obviously. The individual pieces will, that's.
I don't want to make you go over it. I guess my thought was like, if we could reduce treatment and cost, because if we said, you know, well, this has to stay lawn, like, would people be willing to do that?
Right.
That's just me.
So that's the older projects, those particular property owners were encumbered in that way. But in this particular case, through some pushback from both municipalities and consultants and individual property owners, the state has morphed their policy in a way that allows for a more generic review of the properties, and ultimately through a lot of negotiations, we're able to basically free up otherwise with those encumbrances that engineers love to draw on plans, but nonetheless, they have real issues as far as how a property owner can manage their land. And if it's done inconsistent with the assumptions for those magical lines the engineer draws, then the modeling no longer works. So we're out of that. So that's what we like about this particular process and project is the way it stands right now.
And then my just sort of last comment is, you know, our real concern over this limit of 5,000 square feet of impervious that can be added and how that affects all of us. And it's absolute BS from the state. Sorry, excuse my French.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess.
That's not a subject for tonight.
Right.
Publicly stating that again.
Right.
But thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the background is these particular permits issued by the state are good for 5 years. And then after 5 years, it has to, an engineer or somebody has to come back in and recertify that everything that was included in the original permit, as far as both impervious area as well as the system, is all operating appropriately. If somebody comes in and puts another half acre just to create an exaggeration of new impervious surfaces, then the system and what it was intended to do is not going to work the way it was originally permitted or intended. So there has to be some mitigation for that. And that is the one thing that all of the property owners within this particular study area all have to recognize is as you add more impervious area, that you are creating new impacts on the ability of the systems to manage those drops of water. And somebody's got to figure out how to mitigate that. So some property owners say, okay, well, I want to do a new basketball court. I will treat that runoff in a way that meets the state rules, and they get essentially their own permit, or they basically say, hey, at the end of 5 years, I want to put the basketball court in. Let's amend the permit to reflect the features that are being put into place. Again, these are all hypothetical, but nonetheless, these are ways that ultimately, the state wants the reviewing person to catch up and make sure that these incremental improvements have not been made in a way that adversely impact the project. So those are the checks and balances that the state puts into place to ensure that these particular systems remain viable as far as the intent.
Right, but in our case, we have no HOA, have no legal connection to each other. So if one neighbor wants to put in a 5,000 square foot basketball court, and then I want to add a garden shed, or as Terry Purcell said, a bird bath is impervious, we have to re-engineer the permit. It means hiring an engineer. I mean, it's just unsurmountable costs, and it's just.
All I can say is everybody's in that same boat. I don't mean to.
Not everybody,
diminish
only 3 acre people.
Well, no, but it's not just 3 acre people. It's anybody with a stormwater permit, not just,
Right.
it comes up frequently and a lot of different.
To me,
I
it's
spend a
not
lot of most of
logical,
my
like,
time
you got this
dealing
system
with
in
that.
place, then go pick on somebody else.
So I think we gotta move, if we're gonna make a motion, we've spent a lot of time on this. So what would we like to do? Would we like to make a motion? Ending.
Yeah.
As bills.
Yeah, this is Bard. I'd like to move to approve the 3-9050 the permit documents for the notice of intent for Southview for submittal to the State Department of Environmental Conservation, as amended by further refinement prior to submission. What do you think?
Is it clear enough to you? Is that a clear instruction to you?
Yeah.
All right, then I can live with it. I will second that motion.
Any more discussion?
So you'll meet with the homeowners and look at the infrastructure.
Yep.
Pre-builds? No, they're not as-builds. I guess they are as-builds, right?
Yeah.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David,
Adam, aye. Thank you, Andres. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have wait for Caitlin to come back up.
Here's your hand.
Next, we have a discussion of a request to develop a town-owned strip of land off of Mary Drive to rural road standards, including review of road maintenance agreement and consideration of a request to convey the strip of land to one of the two people who have made an offer on the strip of land. This is a continued agenda item. We have talked about this a few times. Danny is with us, who is the one of the people who has proposed purchasing the land. I think last time there was an offer made in the land, the town, as a select board, we mulled over what the value of that land was, how we would establish that value, acknowledging that there is some inherent value of the land, and then possibly the access it creates. Anyone else want to give an update or have thoughts on it? Greg?
I have thoughts. I don't want to kind of repeat everything I've sort of written down, but
We have them, okay, I appreciate it for just some.
Sure.
Put them on red pepper, feed them salt.
It was the most polite booting I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Caitlin was the right tool for the job.
Oh, yeah.
Very humble, Gene.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to summarize my points quickly. Lot K was reserved at some point in the past to provide access to the remainder of the peat farm. I think at the time it may have been understood that that might have involved more than one more unit. As it sits today, it's developed with a private driveway serving 3 residences. The proposal on the table is to improve the town, improve that private driveway up to rural road standards as far as the first house, after which the 2 remaining houses plus 1 additional house would be served by a private driveway for the remainder of that. It's roughly half the distance in the right of way is designated to be built to town road standards. The remainder of that will remain at driveway standards, about 550 feet more or less. Under Richmond regulations, private driveway may only serve 3 residences. Mr. Pete has proposed this upgrade to road standards. That does not in any shape or form obligate the town to accept that as a town road or a town highway. In the end, it does not serve enough houses. You know, we're talking about a net gain of 1 house. And while building it to the town road standards allows him to add an additional residence, it doesn't automatically trigger a need for the town to own that right away. It being kind of neither fish nor fowl, because half of it's private driveway, half of it would be town road. It has not been the habit of this town to own the right of ways for private driveways. And that can entail sufficient development. O'Neill Drive is the most ready example that springs to mind. There are a number of houses up O'Neill Drive, but that whole complex is treated as a private driveway. So the question comes, if the town doesn't want to own a private right-of-way, what to do with Lot K? The proposal on the table was to dispose of it by selling it to Mr. Pete. At the last meeting, we had a verbal representation from Carol Amounty for $10,000. And this is kind of I need to sort of get into the meaty part of this to make my point. An offer to buy real estate is essentially a contract. To form a contract, you need terms and consideration. Terms would be the who, what, where, and when, and the consideration would be the pay for. Consideration is not just money. So while on the face of it, an offer of $10,000 seems like a pretty compelling offer, it wasn't a complete offer, but more to the point, it wouldn't be the most competitive offer. Consideration can be cash. It can be something of equivalent value. And there are two other cases. It can be a promise to do something in the future, or fourth, a promise to not do something you might otherwise have the right to do. So when we take the concept of consideration, which is the equitable exchange of value between two parties, when we take that understanding and consideration, we have to evaluate the proposals, $10,000 versus what Mr. Pete has proposed, which is to upgrade about 350 feet of private driveway to road standards, provide for the ongoing maintenance of that entirety, preserve the rights of the existing three homeowners who currently use this driveway, which is not inconsequential, and create a new house lot to be sold in Richmond. The road construction itself, Mr. Pete, do you want to represent to us what you think you're going to spend upgrading that road?
Well, when it's a rural road standard,
right,
which is different than the town.
It would go from 12 feet wide to 24
12
feet
to
wide.
20
It would have drainage on
12
both
to
sides.
24 feet.
And then it would be limited to 10% grade.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So going how it is now to 24 feet, and then drainage on one side, and potential culvert for one of the driveways, for on the left, the first house on the left.
Mhm.
So I haven't got any cost estimates.
Well, if I just use sort of rule of thumb numbers, maybe $100 a foot for 350 feet would be $35,000. I would be amazed if you could get that done for $35,000, frankly. But assuming that you don't have major grading to do, and it's really about a resurfacing and providing the drainage and maybe some tree removal, on its face, that one part of Mr. Pete's offer is worth more than $10,000. In addition, the maintenance plan for that much road, I don't know what the town spends maintaining a road, but I would think that, if we said that was worth $3,000 or $4,000 a year, within 10 years, that adds up to $40,000. And then there's the future property tax value to the town of having a house up there on lot 12. Median house price in Richmond being $450,000, $500,000, roughly an annualized property tax payment of $10,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. So just on the face of it, I think that the combination of all things of value, not just the cash, makes Mr. Pete's offer more compelling. Now, I know, Carrie, you want to say, well, you'll do all those things too, but I don't think it's good policy for the town to turn this kind of a transaction into a bidding war. There are other interested parties. I know Connie Van Egan was online. I think there are three other house owners up there who want assurances that their rights are going to remain to be respected. Those are deeded rights, and, you know, they've been in clear and obvious use of it for a good long time now. So I can't envision another use for Lot K that preserves the rights of the people currently using that driveway. There's not room for another house. There's not room for other development. I don't, you know, it wouldn't access any other lands. So I think it's bad policy to allow somebody to buy this right away without having more clear sense of what the offer is. Kara, I'm not going to ask you to talk, but I'm just going to point out, I don't think it's in your interests to promise to maintain that road if you don't live on it. And I don't see if it's your interest to pay for the construction of those roadway improvements if it doesn't access any land you own. It seems like mischief to me, and I appreciate what you're trying to do, which is get the town to get some more value out of this than what it looked like on the surface was just the legal fees.
Connie's back.
But okay. But I think, well, please don't, because it's
You're labeling on me, and I take offense to that.
Please,
I have a right to.
please don't. I'm not intending to offend you. I'm trying to evaluate what is in the best interest of the town. And I think it's in the best interest of the town to not own a private driveway. And under those circumstances, I think the proposed improvements, the promise to maintain the roadway surface essentially in perpetuity, and the unique ability Mr. Pete has, because he owns the land underlying Lot 12, to create something up there of value that generates tax revenue to the town. I think altogether those things are worth more than $10,000. That's my whole point. And I think that it was understanding that what you were trying to do, which is encouraging us to try to get something of real value here. I think those things must be considered because that constitutes consideration under the law. There's a second argument to be made, which is that this piece of land unlocks the potential of Lot 12. And between private parties, I think that makes sense. That, you know, if you already owned this and Mr. P wanted to do what he'd have to do, you two would have to come to an equitable agreement as far as what to spend. But in this case, Mr. Pete owns the land and you don't own Lot K. The town will get its due every year for forever. We'll get at least, I'm estimating $10,000 a year in property taxes from Lot 12 from now until we stop collecting property taxes, which is not a promise that anyone else can make because they don't own the underlying land. I think given the cost of the road improvements, given the agreement to maintain the land, given the rights of the people who currently use those private driveways, that in total, it's in the best interest of the town to sell the land to Mr. Pete. Then the question becomes, is legal fees plus other consideration adequate or appropriate? And my back of the napkin math says yes, but I'd be interested to hear counter arguments. But I think if you want to make an offer that sticks, Kara, you should have both terms and consideration. To be a proper offer, it should be complete. And all that notwithstanding, I don't think your offer is the best offer, and I don't think it's in the town's interest to create mischief. So it's well, please don't.
The town of Richmond is an asset.
Right, I understand that, and I think as an asset, random ownership by a third party who doesn't have any other connection to the land is an impediment.
I own other roads in this town, private roads.
Private roads.
And
right.
This is a piece of property that you're looking to transfer, so it becomes a private road.
Right. That's because I think on the whole.
Any mischief anywhere else in town?
I'll lay that word aside. I will lay that word aside then. I meant it in a kind of specific, narrow way. But if if we were trying to assess the value of lot 12 and then make lot K a function of that value, I mean, I think the town gets compensated for that over time, which is different than what a private individual would have a one-time transaction. So I'm interested to hear what other board members have to say.
Caleb?
I can't remember if we clarified this last time, so please, excuse me if we did, but is there any other access to lot 12? This is the only available access.
Right.
If we do not turn over this access, we are then basically cutting off lot 12, essentially.
No.
You would have access, you wouldn't be able to develop.
Right.
Unless the town developed it or allowed Mr. P to develop it. And then, I mean, it would then be a question of maintenance going forward. And I think that when the board reviewed it a couple of years ago, when this first came around, they thought, the cleanest way might just to be conveyed to Danny Pete. That way he owns it, he takes care of the maintenance in conjunction with the current property owners that also use it for access. And there's not a strange relationship of the town owning it also being a private road, or maybe then it becomes a public road, because those are potential options as well.
But if the town bears the cost of improving that end to end into a town or a rural highway, and the town assumes the value of the maintenance, then I agree that Mr. Pete's giving it to him for legal fees or $1 or whatever is customary wouldn't be in the town's interest. Those other things constitute a consideration which has to be evaluated against other considerations.
Part of the value is the commitment to improvement, the potential for ongoing tax revenues, and the what would be the right way, the offloading of risk to the town.
Right.
Future, so whenever permitting concerns may come up.
Right.
Which is tough to assign a cash value to compare 1-to-1. That is a very.
I don't think we'd be having this conversation if your plan was to have 10 houses up there. I think that would continue to be a town road end to end. I just don't know if that's that level of public investment and commitment to public resources is balanced out by a single additional house. And whatever happens, we need to make sure we look out for the property rights of the 3 other people who currently use that driveway.
Mary.
Lucky you. I am mischief. Very cool. I want to remind you what you said about owning the underlying road. That'll come back.
Okay.
Rural road standards are not created for the benefit of the town. Rural road standards were created for the benefit of the residents. It is not so that the town will take over ownership of the road. It is for the benefit of the remainder, the homeowners there. So as not a town road now, it's just a right of way. Let's leave it that. What guarantees are you asking to preserve the rights of the fellow landowners, homeowners up there for resurfacing? What guarantees are you getting? This almost sounds like the housing trust. Oh, we'll pay you next week for something we're getting today.
Mary, to the best of my knowledge, the other homeowners have signed on to the maintenance agreement. I think that.
Think about the property value and the maintenance agreement. Do you have guarantees to guarantee that that's going to happen for them? Those people, if this is not enforced and taken to the standard that is proposed, then those people have to seek legal action. They're not going to come back to you guys. You go, no, that's. So anyway, so they need guarantees. But what is the current tax on lot 12, lot K, whatever it's called? And is it taxed as a lot? And by the way, this law was not given by Danny Pete. This belonged to the Jordan Building Company, who gave it to the town. And I believe there was a 1999 or so, there was a request for some change in there, and it's documented down in the planning office that it was denied. Did anybody research that? Why was the previous issue denied?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it should have been researched. It should be at your hand right now. You should say, these are the reasons we have. Oh, this wasn't Danny Pete's land to give us anyway. It came from Jordan Building Company. It didn't come from the Pete family. The Pete family conveyed that. Fine.
Jordan was a builder and we deeded it to Jordan. And I think the same time that piece got deeded, or actually when the town was deeded Mary Drive, they also deeded this lot K. And so Jordan was purchased from us. So I'm not sure what years those were or if they're the same years, but it was, it was so Jordan purchased from us when it was completely permitted. So when did Mary Drive get deeded to the town? I'm not sure how many years out that was. They had to build the road, obviously. So.
Yeah. Josh, I believe you asked the listers of the town assessor what the value of lot K was.
So yeah, I don't have the current value of the.
Or well, just the tax rate on it.
Yeah, I mean, the question asked the assessor was coming in our last meeting, if the road is improved, does that increase the value of lot 12? And she said that there's a number of things that would go into increasing the assessed value of lot 12. Access would be one, but also permits to build, kind of getting wastewater permits, other things in place. If that was in place, then when she evaluated the value of it, it would go up because she would look at that as, oh, there's some plans, there's some proof that it can be developed. And so therefore the value is more, but she didn't give me a specific increase for just the access. She said it's sort of a basket of things that then affect the value of the land.
Is it being taxed now was my question. And what is the tax? Danny Pete should know this.
Do you mean the lot?
The lot.
Or the road lot?
You cannot
Wait,
assess
there's
something that's not built yet.
Two different lots. Are you talking about Danny Pete's lot 12, or are you talking about the town's own lot that's the right of way? Which parcel are you talking about?
Well, Mr. Rabideau suggested that was going to be the improved lot for this $10,000 tax gain a year for a new house.
That's lot
the
12.
property I'm asking about for a value. Is there a value on that now that is currently assessed by the town?
I think, yeah, I'm sure there is. I don't have that in front of me. But I can get it.
No,
Chelsea.
I can get it.
So Chelsea Brooks, before I start, I just wanted to ask if Select Board and Josh had received my email and if any of the questions that I had, if you had gathered the answers. Before I rehash that out, I just want to know, do we have any?
I haven't had a chance to research the stormwater questions, no.
Okay, so I guess my sort of blanket statement about that is that until we know those answers, I don't think a decision can be made tonight in good faith or regardless of what mischief you think is afoot. Last time I tried to bring this up to the select board in December, I've watched it back. I actually brought up the YouTube video. I'll take a little extra time to explain this because I was I know I got cut off. I've watched the YouTube video and I got cut off before my even 2 minutes allotted. So I'm gonna take a note from Mary Hool and I'm taking back some of my time that I was denied then. So I'm incredibly knowledgeable about stormwater. The things that I brought up are not just hey, what ifs? These are things that the town needs the answers to, or you're going to encumber all of the residents of Mary Drive as well as the town. Mary Drive is currently under a stormwater permit. The reason that the town is the permittee of Mary Drive's stormwater permit actually has to do with this development. Joe Jordan never followed through with what was needed to be done. A homeowners association should have been developed with Mary Drive, and that's who should be the owners of the stormwater permit. It was never done, so it was an orphan permit, and now the town is the permittee. The reported impervious surface is something like 2.5 acres. We know what a 3-acre site is, right? I asked, please get these answers from Andres. Watershed did the stormwater permit for Mary Drive. Was those on the ground measurements? Did he take everything into account, or was it just an aerial where trees are hiding sheds and things like that? Mary Drive could be dangerously close to a 3-acre site. And the improvements that are being suggested on Lot K would be part of Mary Drive stormwater permit. Because Lot K is part of Mary Drive's site. Like the blue line that's drawn around Southview that you all are so familiar with, Lot K is part of that. So anything that is done to Lot K will become part of that permit and then become the town's responsibility. So just saying like it's the town can sell it and then he'll improve it and it's gonna be great, like it'll benefit the town with tax revenue. I don't disagree that tax revenue could be the ultimate outcome of this, regardless of who owns it, whether it's Danny or Kara or whoever. However, things need to be answered that haven't yet. I tried to like nip this in the bud back in December and was shut down. And so here we are where like some offers are being thrown under the rug, some are being sort of promoted. It's just really disheartening to like have it have gotten to this point and not even have this been looked at. And it's not an oversight of the engineers. They create these plans. They know what this could potentially mean. Lot 12, for example, has to be part of a stormwater permit. Like this isn't unknown to the engineer that's been hired for this project. And so the fact that it hasn't been crystal clear and forthcoming and brought up to the town is concerning in and of itself to me. And so there's more things to do with the development of this lot that if you guys sell it off, whoever you sell it to, that decision, it isn't just, oh, we've sold it and now we've washed our hands, it's good. Like your decision will affect people, as somebody said, with the other folks that live off of this. So I noticed in the plans, something else that I wanted to bring up tonight is that the plan for the improvement to rural road standards shows a called cross section or something in your meeting minutes.
Yeah.
That shows the 10% grade for a rural road. It does not show compliance with A76 standards, which means that the road has to actually grade away from Mary Drive for something like 20 feet, a 3% grade away. If that is done, I don't know if any of you have driven up there or seen this lot, seen this approach as you go off of Mary Drive. If it is graded 3% away from Mary Drive for 20 feet and then has to maintain 10% going forward, it is going to cut into that hillside significantly. I speak from experience. This happened next door to me. I continue to deal with the outcomes from land cutting adjacent to my property line. That could be Connie, that could be Ash. And then their property will start to erode into that new rural road, much like mine is currently eroding. These are things that need to be considered, and you guys can't just, my opinion is that you can't just say, well, that's a decision for down the road. That's a decision for the DRB, because these are things that need to be considered ahead of time, because once that piece of paper is signed and this is sold, there's no going back. You're not going to have any control over what's done with this. And so I think there's several things that need to be thought of and haven't thus far. And I'm really concerned about the transparency of the whole situation. My final, at least for now, comment is that Greg, your considerations regarding like what's a full and proper offer.
Yeah.
The last time this was before the select board, I might have misheard, but I'd like to mention it in case I heard correctly. I thought it was said that the town's lawyer drafted up the roads agreement.
No, I think they approved it. But
No, so can I answer that? So the select board the last time, I guess it was in the fall, that Danny Pete was in front talking about the road, asked to have a roads agreement put in place with the current property owners. So Danny did that, and I wanted to make sure that our attorney had a look at that to say like, okay, this looks good, and suggested changes, because I knew that the board would want to know if our lawyer had a chance to look at that to make sure that, you know, it was going to protect the homeowner's rights to the access. So that's all that he did, was review and offer a couple of changes. He did not draft it.
Thank you for the clarification.
yeah, and I will apologize to you, Chelsea. I've been operating under the assumption that the details of the construction would be a matter for zoning. The select board's role in this was the disposition of the land underlying it. But you've raised a significant point, which I'm not going to dismiss. I think the idea that this could trip into another 3-acre site, we've dealt with a couple of these now, and we know how hairy it gets. That demands a real answer. You got to address Adam, but
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, well, stormwater's been figured out. We looked at that really hard. before I did anything. And we've met with the neighbors, they all understand the situation, and there's no issue. Bluntly. But I can send you that.
Yeah, I mean, no, what I mean, or Caitlin, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I appreciate that you look into it and it's required to. I do think it's a good point that Chelsea raises that we would need more than your personal endorsement that you've looked into it. We would need.
Yeah, I can.
Show that how that works out both on your portion in lot 12, but also the implications for lot K and having all that.
Yep. And lot 12 is in the Saddler Meadow stormwater permit.
That's K that we're talking about.
Yeah, so we would.
Yeah, K's in the marriage, will be in the Mary Drive.
The lot 12 stormwater is personally not of a major concern to me. I do think that Chelsea's point that the stormwater implications of increasing the impervious in lot K and therefore in that permit area should be addressed. If you have that addressed.
We've got it all addressed. So I was gonna, we gotta go to Act 250 through to Act 250. So they're gonna wanna see all that and in detail.
So I don't think our select board is the experts to review said plans. However, what would we want? We would want a report from.
Well, I think that the ultimate proof of it is the issuance of a stormwater permit, discharge permit from the state of Vermont. If it's currently subject to one, as Chelsea has pointed out, then an amendment would have to be completed by the regional engineer.
Right.
And at that point, we would know whether or not this came with a tail, which is that we created another 3-acre site.
Right.
So
I do have Keith with us. Keith, can you are probably the most familiar with these various sets of plans and all that. Do you have any insights, concerns, path forward for us?
Audio doesn't seem to be working, Keith.
He looks like he's.
You give him a minute.
Triple unmute.
On.
Different, because this headset, I think it's.
Oh, okay. Well, can I just?
Yeah, sure.
About this permit, I mean, I think that what Chelsea brings up is a good idea, and I haven't looked into it much, but I think a good start would be to, kind of communicate with Watershed Consulting. I know they've already done the permit for that area. Look at how much impervious is there. Ask them what happens if we do tip into 3-acre area. If we get over 3 acres, I don't know what happens if you increase over 3 acres. So figure that out from Watershed or maybe the state. And then I think Watershed could probably review the plans that you have right now, take a look at it to say how much impervious would that increase and where does that put us? So if the board wants to get those answers, I think that would be the way to get those answers. But I think we need those answers because I think it's a good point that we don't want to inadvertently create another 3-acre site.
I have those answers.
In relation to this 3-acre permit? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation back and forth with the state and our engineers. And so I've got emails.
Okay, if you have that about, I just didn't know if they specifically looked at the permit for Mary Drive.
Yep.
Okay, if you've got that, I'm happy to take a look at that. And
Yeah, I've got a lot of.
Watershed, I think they'd be.
I imagine Keith and the staff already have that and have reviewed it. Right? So
I don't know, I haven't seen it about.
I don't think I've
this
sent
development yet.
that much
I
stuff.
think that
to
would be
Keith.
they are generally our plan review experts. So that's who we would want to report from
Okay.
at some point. Caitlin?
Is the lot K already included as impervious surface in the current permit? So it's not increasing impervious surface?
Well, it would be to the extent that the road was getting widened. But
the road is getting wider, so that piece there adds to it.
But in terms of the overall acreage, I don't know. It seems like if Chelsea's right and the town is the default permittee on this, that somewhere along the line, we should have been signing applications.
Well, there's been no actual development proposed just yet, hasn't gone through that process yet, right? We haven't gotten to DRB. I think it's an interesting question though about when we have these 3-acre permits or any stormwater permit, right? It kind of goes back to this conversation we just had with Southview. Like once we move forward on this 10-point 5 acres, there's an allowance for 5,000 additional square feet of development before it tips into other regulations. So we do have a few permitted areas like Mary Drive that are less than 3 acres that the town sort of adopted as orphan permits in the early 2000s and continues to pay for annual review, but they haven't gone into the 3 acre site, so they're less expensive at this point. And so logistically, procedurally, really the review on these is every 5 years, right? So we go in and do an engineering review, which Watershed Consulting just did for this area. So Mike, and this is where I don't really know exactly how do you look at these sites, whether they're 3 acre or less, with each individual addition, right? Like the addition of a shed doesn't have a real process where it's going to flag, oh, check that stormwater site. That's why I'm curious to see what your engineers looked into already. And Keith seems like he's throwing up his hands as far as maybe audio connections, but I think it's also a conversation with zoning to say, well, when somebody comes forward with a new plan for one of these sites that has a stormwater permit, how do we ensure that we're taking that permit into consideration, which is I think what Chelsea's asking. And it's a good question.
Well, good point. I think Lot K is being added to this besides the extra 24 feet. I think all that's being added to Mary Drive's permit. And so I can show that and send that information.
Sorry, being added or already included as?
Lot K is being added into the Mary Drive permit.
Well, I think you're saying the additional Lot K, I think that impervious is already included. I haven't looked at it.
I'm not sure if it is, but I'll look harder at my stuff.
Yeah, so because if it's already included, then it's just the additional impervious we have to account for to make sure where that falls in with the current permit.
Yeah. I think that's important.
Yeah.
to understand before.
I don't think any of us are specifically qualified to hash out the details of that, but that would be what we would lean on Keith and team to review those permits. And either tell us we need more information, tell us we need a different design, a review from a consultant or something. I think that would be the next step would be for us to request. Gotcha. So we would request that you get all the information to Keith and Keith will review that or determine that we need to hire a consultant to review that. If we don't have the expertise in-house, then we can get a report on that. Chelsea?
Just a couple of closing comments based on what was just discussed. Lot K, the existing is included because it's in the watersheds, like a map of impervious that was submitted to the state with our permit renewal. It's the expansion that would be added, and the way the rules work, it's like all the expansions sort of count as one. So it's not just like one singular 5,000 square feet. It's like if
Cumulative for the
Connie does a shed and everybody gets a shed like Oprah, and then he also expanded the road, then that tips you over the 5,000, and then it's there's a lot to sort of think about. But one thing I did want to mention, again, sort of something that while you are, because potentially there will be looking into in discussions with Watershed between now and the next meeting or now and whenever this is discussed. Terry Purcell at the state has explained this very sort of, I guess, thoroughly in their way to me, is that sort of what Watershed was explaining earlier today with Southview, the same concept of like, if one person in Southview wants to build a 5,000 square foot basketball court, that one person can take that permitting into their own realm rather than add it to the Southview permit. So that is a potential option here. Again, regardless of whoever owns it, if it's Kara's or where the town keeps it, no matter like whomever is improving that and adding impervious could take that into and of themselves, which means that the added impervious of making it a roll road would have to be treated just in and of itself to the standards that are whatever percentage the state deems for that site, which would protect the residents of Mary Drive, gives you a bit more of a cushion, because again, the closer you get, if some of these residents want to build an ADU or an addition or sheds or whatever the case may be, it gives a little bit more cushion if that expanded roadway to benefit Lot 12 is on its own permit.
Thanks, Chelsea. Kara?
As I sit here having been offended because my offer was not a legitimate offer because it was not fully vetted. I would like to confirm with you. Do you have an offer in writing from Danny P? Okay, no, you do not.
Well, I think there was one included in the packet for the last meeting.
Right, I think
It was
it's,
the emailed offer. It was like a Tuesday.
Was it fully defined as you defined a minute ago that mine was not? Because I offered to put mine in writing if you so wished for me to do it before. But hold on, because I'm gonna solve this whole problem for you in just 1 second. So let me speak. Because I'm pretty sure you don't have a fully bound offer like you just said I didn't give you. I have been a Richmond taxpayer for 38 years. I've been a farmer. I've been a developer. I've done all of this stuff. It was a legitimate offer for a reason. This is a town asset that you should not be giving things away for the value of your legal costs, only to have it come back and bite you in the future. Hold on, I'm not done. I've listened to you guys for 20 minutes. It's my turn. Because that sign out there, all are welcome, still goes against the Labounties. And I'm going to petition to get it said to say accept the bonds because I've been sitting here for a while with my hand up. I'm revoking my offer so I can make your life so much easier and you can give away all the town assets that you want. But I am letting you know I'm coming for one. And I want you I want you to consider my offer on a town asset that I'm coming for in the future as a legitimate offer, and I will put it in writing and I'll have a lawyer do it for me. So you take it seriously. Now, the consideration issue, that's bogus. I'm gonna let you know right now, because any developer walks in here and says, we'll fix up your town. You had you had up on Williams Hill Road, you had a class 4 road that you had a bunch of arguments over about, you had it tied up with lawyers and you're gonna have bikers on it and you wanted to open it up. You spent a lot of money on that one to lose. So I'm going to tell you right now, consideration of a future property to pay tax on. I'm gonna come in and ask you to waive a building permit for me. Hey, consideration is I'm gonna put a house there. You guys are looking for reasons to do whatever you want to do. I get that. I'm not here to cause mischief. I'm here to represent some of the Richmond taxpayers who want to keep Richmond affordable. And every little bit that we can make money on to be able to pay for benches at the park, or to be able to do maintenance at the park, or maintenance this building that you're going to come up with another item here, means something to me. So I'm not trying to cause mischief. He is sitting there as a developer. He has subdivided over 20 lots in that area. If you don't recognize a developer when you see it, I really don't care. I am just trying to do what's right for Richmond too. And I do believe my offer is revoked. It was a legitimate offer. I do own other roads in this town. And maybe I'm going to give those other roads to the town of Richmond, because you don't think there's a value in it. You think there is a value in it. Either way, it's very insulting. I was trying to prove a point to you guys that if I want something from you and I'm willing to pay the legal costs for it, then you should be willing to give it to me, because anything I do is consideration. It's what I'm going to do with it, improve the grand list value. It was very insulting. That was never my intent. My intent was always, if I could say, get a little bit more money for the park or something like that, it was well worth it. Danny, I've never opposed him developing anything up there. You've never seen me in here, but you were giving away a town asset. That's what I have a problem with. If you want to give away a section of this building, an office in this building, just give it away. They can be a partial owner.
I'll say
that's my point I'm trying to say to you. You don't give away vehicles. You don't give away lawnmowers when we're not using them anymore. You don't give away an asset for the cost of a legal bill. That's all I was trying to say. And it's not about the future potential earning of what that is that you're giving away. That's not how this works. Consideration isn't that way. Or else when I came in here and your zoning person screwed me over. And I had to go in front of the DRB twice. Y'all didn't reimburse me when I came forward and said I should be reimbursed this amount. It's consideration. It was a building lot. It's not fair. It's just not fair to be treated differently because of who I am and what I try to say. And I don't try to say it in a disrespectful manner. It was a legitimate offer. For if he really thought that there was a value in that, I would like you, hey, if you really want to look at something, look at his lister's card. See what lot 12 is really worth. See what he's been paying tax on it for however long. But your lister who says she can't value something, oh, please. Give me a break. Has no problem valuing my property. Has no problem valuing my road.
My heart.
You can't tax a road. Let's all be clear. You cannot tax a road. But my property is worth more because there's a road to it.
My heartfelt apologies to you if you felt in any way insulted, Mrs. LeBounty. I had no intention of doing that. My entire purpose in speaking on the issue tonight was to try to explain how there's more to a deal than just the cash. Well, it wasn't given away. It was 350 feet of roads. Well,
if you only get legal fees, it's a net zero gain for the town of Richmond.
All right, we're gonna move on.
yeah, I said I'm sorry, and I am more convinced by by Chelsea's argument, which has merit in terms of potential future costs to the town. So
And implications for the adjoining property owners and all that, yeah.
right. So I'm not inclined to make any kind of motion.
Yeah, I just want to button this whole thing up. We can move on. I also am not inclined to make any motion this evening. I think that stormwater pieces of things is really an important piece to make sure that we're very clear on of what numbers are being added where, and if we need to have a different permit in place along with the selling the lot and so forth. I also, Kara, appreciate you slowing us down last meeting, and I hope that you saw that we took that information that you had provided and stepped back and really considered that. So thank you for bringing that to our attention and slowing us down and considering even further. I always appreciate your input. The other piece I would like to say here is there's to me something that I've been trying to determine in my head, which I don't know if I have the answer to yet, which I would like to continue on as we continue down the path. This stormwater piece feels it's important. It's another piece of things. It's also separate to the original question that we were asking of what is this piece of property worth? And to that point, I think we need to decide, is it for sale or not? And if it's something that the town is putting up to bid to sell, that's a very different story than us moving forward with transferring the property. And so I think there's more that we need to do there. There's still more questions open there that need to come out inside of this.
Just so you know, if you transfer property, it's still considered a sale.
Right.
And I want you to sell it.
So I think we just need to answer more questions around that. Yes. Thank you, Kara. Okay, let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have consideration of replacing one or more speed humps on Cochran Road with speed tables and consideration of adding advisory speed signs on the speed humps on Cochran Road.
No and yes. Oh, don't do that.
They caught me off guard. I don't know.
Don't replace them, do put up a caution sign.
Have we collected any cost information on this?
Yeah, do you have any cost information on this B2, Josh?
Let's see, what did I say? So I did talk to Pete a bit about what he sort of got a back of the envelope estimate on in-house, changing it over to a speed table. He kind of roughed out about $1,500 to $2,000 in material cost if it was done with highway staff in-house. He didn't really have a good ballpark on what it would be for a contractor to come in and do it if we wanted to contract that out. So I don't have complete information, but some information on that. And he also said his summer work plan is pretty well booked out. It has been added to, and he didn't think he could get to it this summer if you wanted to change one to a speed hump. So if you wanted to change this summer, you'd probably have to go through a contractor, or wait a little bit and see when you can fit it in maybe next summer, and that's possible.
Is that per occurrence? 1,500
to 2,000, he thought.
per each one.
Per hump, yes, for materials, yeah.
Can we get a contractor price before we make this motion? It seemed if we were presuming that we were to replace a contractor price, so if we were to make a motion to replace one without having a price, we can't really do that, right?
Right, yeah, so I
We don't need to
guess
make a motion to get a price, we just need
The
to.
signs you can do, right?
the
speed-
signs, yes, designs will be a lot cheaper. I will try to get a contractor estimate.
Are the signs already in the budget, though? He has a sign allotment.
I think that was the
I don't
understanding.
remember what he said, but my memory was it would be minimal cost.
Yeah, he has a line item.
Yeah.
It was gonna be within the line. item.
Yeah, I think it could either come out as sign or traffic calming, and I think there's some money in both of those. It's not a huge amount for a speed sign.
Bard.
I think the speed advisory signs on existing speed humps is simple. We could just do that. I think as we discuss replacing speed humps with speed tables, we should at least introduce the subject to say how we got here.
Yeah.
For people who were not here in previous conversations, why are we talking about this?
Caitlin, I hand up.
I don't want to speak for others. I think I'm pretty caught up on that point. If others are here.
Just a brief review of the last 2 years of how we got to speed humps. I can do that.
Want to get out of here before midnight.
Replacing speed humps with speed tables. Why are we talking about that?
We're talking about replacing the speed humps with speed tables because the speed humps, when you pass over them, which is why we also have the signage aspect of things here, are meant to be passed over under the speed limit at 15 miles per hour or so. That means that they are intended to slow down slower than the speed. And so speed tables actually let you pass over them at the speed limit posted. We can post the signs of 15 mile per hour separately, and that's allowed. We already cleared that. But the matter with the speed tables would allow folks to pass over those without severely slowing down, without
Causing damage.
causing damage. Thank you. I was gonna say something with J bricks, but I don't know if that's true.
I'm just gonna say, I'm not aware that we've received any like bills or invoices. And I'm not, it may or may not have happened. I'm just not aware.
People have been here and said it to you in prior public meetings on the subject matter, so, and you
They
can watch
said in
them.
a global way, oh, it broke my car, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we're not encouraging people to bring bills to you, so I'm trying not to go down that avenue right now, so.
Stafford brought a bill here.
I'm trying to encourage you not to do that, I'm trying to come up with solutions so that we don't have to do that, and I'm the one who brought this to your attention, so I'd like to just speak on it for just a moment. I'm the one that made the request to go to a table instead of a hump. And my request was to have you consider it. I thought tonight you were gonna have prices so you could determine, because that was Greg's concern. Bard was considering it, David was considering it. Didn't have people email you, didn't have people pressure the select board. As you had stated before, you only heard from one side, didn't hear from both sides. Had asked for people to not bombard you with it, because what was the question, where are we at, wasn't time yet, right? So my question back to you is, we don't have a price. It can't be decided tonight. You actually need to have a price that you can decide if you want to spend that money or not. I would like you to have a price because I don't want to encourage you to have a blank check. That's not how I roll. But my point is if you want to do nothing but put up the signs, then I know what my next step would be. Because I don't support keeping them the way they are. It was a pilot project. You've got no data showing how many tickets have been written. You've got no data presented about that, since I've asked for that since way back when we were doing the four-way stop sign. There I asked about the data or the enforcement for tickets. That was the purpose of this, was to slow traffic on specifically Cochran Road. Nowhere else in town, just Cochran Road. Having had no of the information that we've asked for weeks, data, cost, we can't go anywhere. You can hear as much as you want from the public of who wants them and who doesn't want them, but you can't make a decision. So I stayed till 9:45, thinking this was an agenda item that you might be able to take action on, and it's not. So I will come back at your next time you're gonna put it back on the agenda. I'll see what your reply is, and then I'll know. Is if you guys want to be bombarded with emails, if you guys want a petition to be started, what you want. But I like to work from data. It's factual. I have a rattle in the front end of my car right now. My kid lives on Cochran Road. If you want me to bring an invoice when I go have it looked at, I can do that too, but I don't want to do that. That's not my point in this whole thing. I drive Pine Street 3 times a week. It's a beautiful, smooth ride at 25 miles per hour. If that's what you want, is 25 miles per hour. But if you really want 15 miles per hour on Cochran Road, I'm going to then bring in the list of all the other roads, because you have an intersection of Christmas Hill and East Hill Road that is very dangerous right now. You have Phase Corners, which is very dangerous right now. So if we're going to go down through the whole list, I want to put some stuff on your plate. That's not trying to be rude and threatening or anything like that. It's just trying to be, there's a problem. You were piloting it. Don't call something a pilot if you're not going to, if it's not going to be a pilot. You haven't looked at any data in regards to it. Thank you.
Caitlin?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. There are some other dangerous intersections and roads and towns that should be addressed and are a higher priority, which is why I don't think we should spend any time or resources replacing these highly effective speed humps with speed tables. I live right there between 2 of the speed humps at the west end of Cochran Road, and I can say, having run the numbers, if you give, let's say, like a 50-foot buffer on either side of those, your travel time is going to be delayed by 2.72 seconds if you, let me finish, if you transition from 25 miles an hour to 15 miles an hour. Driver convenience should not be put over community safety. Moreover, if you are driving at a reduced rate over those speed humps, you shouldn't incur any damage. So if you're incurring damage, the speed humps are doing what they're supposed to do. So I think you've received multiple emails so far. I have multiple neighbors already on this call who have signed off, because I think we're past the agenda at this point, but I can speak for, I think, most of the folks on either end of Cochran Road. We have kids, pets, there are countless pedestrians, runners, bikers through our road before dawn till after dusk who support those speed humps. And I really think we should focus our efforts and your valuable time elsewhere instead of redigging this hole like we did several years ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caitlin. Go ahead.
Susan Wells, Cochran Road. We have lost quite a few people who came to speak because of the hour. Several people I know had to get off. We have some data that was given to you in an email from the National Federal Highway Association, I think it is, that when you use a speed table, you increase, you allow cars to go 30 miles an hour on a speed table. So if you put in a speed table, you're basically saying that you're encouraging people to speed over the 25 miles per hour. I think Caitlin Filkins just said that a speed bump is meant to slow people down below the speed limit. And that's exactly what they do. If people are having a problem with their cars, it's because they're going over them too fast. And I can tell you that people go over them too fast because I hear them and I see them come off of Huntington Road at very high rate of speed, and they hit those bumps and they make a lot of noise. I think that people who live on Cochran Road, who walk it, who bike it, who walk their children, strollers, ought to be given a lot of consideration for this. We worked very, very hard to get those speed bumps, and we spent years coming to the select board around that issue. And to see them now wiped out and put speed tables on and increase the speed on Cochran Road and at an expense to the town. We should not be reinventing this wheel.
Nick, online?
Thanks, folks. Yeah, I live on Cochran Road also. Just to say, I think speed bumps are fine as they are, and I don't think the extra time being spent to consider modifying them is worth it. I don't think the extra resources, the money that would be spent to modify them is worth it. I drive Cochran Road. I drive with speed bumps every day. I just slow down. It's perfectly fine. And in the meantime, I appreciate the safety they add for me and for my 1-year-old walk to daycare. This is not worth the town's resources to reconsider. Thank you.
Go ahead, Beck.
Hi, Leland Young. I live on Cochran Road also. I live on the eastern end of Cochran Road. And I really appreciate the thoughtful addition of the signage recommending a lower speed. Partly because I think people hit the speed bumps not really knowing what the appropriate speed is. I oftentimes hear a jangle and look out the window to see a little piece falling off the back of the truck. And, you know, it's not something I would want. I have a rattle in my car too, but I know it's not from going over the speed bumps because I do slow down to about 18 miles an hour. And it's accomplishing what we wanted to, which is to slow people enough to make a safe environment. And I would like to see if any changes made to make the speed humps more effective rather than to dial something back and allow higher speeds.
Kyle?
Hi, I'm Kyle. I also live on Cochran Road with my neighbors here. I'm a lifelong Vermonter for those of you who that matters to, because apparently it does. And I agree with the speed bumps. They slow people down, and some people who don't want to replace their old Subarus and have parts knocked off and slow down on the road and take care of yourselves and take care of the people who you live with in the village that deserve to feel safe on the road with their child or with their dog or with their people. You know, just like, come on, just slow down. And that's the speed bumps are doing that. They're working and we appreciate them. And it's not, and if it's inconvenient to you, don't drive down here. It's a residential road. Go around, go drive on your highway, your state highway. It's over there. Really convenient. 50 miles per hour. It's fast. Go over there. Thank you.
Kyle? Chelsea?
Thanks. I just have a question. And I might have just missed it at the beginning. So Cochran Road is 25 miles per hour and then posted signs are 15. Is that correct?
No, there's no posted sign for that. It's 25 miles per hour.
Recommended signs.
There's no signs yet.
Okay, all right. Well, then I guess I'll speak in support at least of some recommended signs because my children and I, much to their dismay, experimented with what was speed to go.
My son did too.
Well, I had no idea, you know, I'm going 25, that's pretty slow, right? I mean, in front of my house where the sight distance is practically 0, you can go 45 and my kids, you know that not to go near the road because you may die. So going over them, I was like, well, 25, you know, maybe I'll slow down a little. In a 3-row SUV, so I have good clearance, I have to be going like 16. Otherwise, the people in the 3rd row complain that their head hits the roof. So I've done like 16, 17, 18, 19. So just some anecdotal feedback is that, you know, you definitely have to slow down quite a lot, more so than I thought. So definitely just a thought. Oh, my other question. Is there like annual maintenance to the speed humps?
Not yet. There has not
Is there a
been.
difference between a hump and a bump?
Yes.
Yes.
Hump a bump and a table.
Anyhow.
3 different
so
things.
Is there, I'm
Humps.
just curious about annual maintenance
Humps.
because I have heard people, where I have my car maintenance done mention that like, if they're uneven at all, like even if you go over them straight on, because the hump maybe has some wear on one side or the pavement isn't even, it's like messes with alignment. I don't know. For all I know it did, but I just don't take care of my car very well. So anyhow, just some thoughts on like if that is a thing that we could like make sure to maintain is like just sort of the evenness I heard that from my car repair company.
I asked you guys at the beginning was signs, right?
Mhm.
I want everybody in this room to understand if the humps are staying. I asked for the signs because just like we were concerned about people new to our town driving on a road for the first time. At intersections, et cetera, signage is very important. So the
Mhm.
speed of which you were supposed to cross over those humps has never been posted.
Would we, so it sounds like, doesn't sound like we have established that we would want a price from a contractor to inform our decision or discussion moving forward if we were to entertain the idea of replacing a hump with a table. We cannot do that at the moment. So would we like to do something with advisory signs tonight?
Yes, I move to add speed advisory signs to the speed humps on Cochran Road with an advisory speed of 15 miles an hour.
This is Caitlin, I'll second.
Do we have any more discussion about that?
Just want to point out that you can't get ticketed for going over 15 miles per hour. This is a cautionary speed limit, not a speed limit. It's just saying, hey, if you don't want to have your kids in the third row bounce off the ceiling, you should go 15.
I will note that if there had been speed humps when I was a kid, we wouldn't have bounced off the ceiling. We would have bounced out of the back of the truck. Times have changed slightly for the better. 15 sounds reasonable based on the feedback we've had.
From what I read also, that's the recommended.
Sense.
And I just tabulated, I have heard from 7 people via email in favor of keeping the speed humps. And I don't have anybody saying they want to change.
I didn't want to bombard you, I already said that.
So what would we like to do with motion? Do we have more discussion, Caitlin?
Not on this. I think we can move through this motion and then we can wrap up the agenda item because they were two separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bard, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Would we all like to vote? Adam, I. Taking the initiative, Bart. It sounds like, Josh, can we try to, I guess, can you, however you want to track down or get Pete to reach out to a contractor, however that works.
Yeah, I'll try to find something, whether or Paul Burlington or something, maybe. Cause I put some in recently.
We're paving and having.
Yeah, maybe somebody's got something off the shelf. Also,
Burlington pays sometimes more than anybody else.
well, I gotta get some sort of estimate, so you say.
I just going to the other piece of the agenda item in terms of the tables and the cost and so forth, and that we're very late this evening. There'll be more time to discuss. I think we'll add it to another agenda item to continue talking about it. So folks that didn't get to talk tonight can continue to talk. My key concerns of why I would like to see the cost is that it is a truck route. It's not a state highway, but it is a designated truck route. And I think that the speed humps are the cost that we could incur to do what we could do on a road that is actively used by a lot of pedestrians and a lot of bikers, and we are missing the mark on the middle of the road. We've already decided, I think, in a couple of cases that we couldn't do something about the middle of the road. I just don't want to put the tables off of the table only because when we originally decided on the speed humps, it was to slow traffic to 25 miles per hour, which these are not doing. And since we decide that in a future agenda item that we're trying to slow traffic to below 15 or 25 miles per hour as posted, and that is what we're going to move forward with, then that makes sense to just keep them signed and not do anything about it. But it is a truck route, and we have heard from residents about J-breaks. We have heard from residents about people speeding up afterwards and causing safety issues in the middle. So I don't want to dismiss it entirely. I would like to continue discussion and figure out a plan to move forward on Cochran Road that makes everyone a little bit safer. And that might not necessarily just be speed tables. Not to rehash the whole thing, but.
Oh, go ahead. And then we're going to move on.
I just am not, I'm just very confused at how a speed table makes things safer on Cochran Road.
And
it doesn't.
To be very clear, I'm not talking about the speed hump being the solution. I'm saying that that is a Band-Aid that we put in place for a road that continues to be actively used by pedestrians and bikers, that we have not put the money into investing for something that actually addresses what we want to do on that road. It's a truck route that is not safe to ride on right now. And the speed bumps help in the certain areas. But there's counter pieces to it as well. I want to keep the conversation going to decide what we're going to do with this road. And I don't necessarily mean that I'm going to push for speed tables as the final answer.
Okay, we need to move on. Next, we have consideration of setting the FY 27 tax rate. Do you want to pull up the?
Yeah, I do have one update.
Raspberries.
Right, so this is a slightly updated sheet from what was initially posted. But the general, and I'll go into why. Basically what we do is look at the total amount of money needed to be raised for the general fund, the total amount that needs to be raised for the highway fund. This factors out things in the budget that are other sources of revenue. So if we were counting on grants or unassigned funds, this is just what needs to be raised from taxes. That gets us to a tax rate of 0.5781. The calculation is based on a grand list value of $8,166,772,000. That has changed slightly from when I posted this agenda a week ago. The town assessor told me that the values for Waitsfield Champlain Telecom land by the tax department, they set the actual values for that type of land had been slightly or had been reduced. So that changed grand list value from what I initially had posted. It was initially at 8,178,000, and that is now down to 8,166,000. I also double checked the school rate issue, school tax rate, and that comes into effect with these account for veterans and Richmond Terrace tax exemptions. So these are voted in exemptions to reduce the value of veterans homes and the Richmond Terrace that is recognized by this town, but is not recognized by the education tax. So they still tax this on a grand list that includes the fuller values of those two. So we have to basically make that up by saying, well, the education tax will be a certain amount on those. So the calculation is based on the education rate, which we estimated for the last iteration of this, but they finalized it in the last week. So I put that into that calculation. So that comes out with 0.0018 as an additional tax rate. That went down slightly from the 0.0020. So I'd use a higher estimate that I'd found from some of the school budget discussions than what was actually set. So that puts us at a tax rate of 0.5799, which is just slightly up from the 0.5794 as it was posted a week ago. The prior tax rate was 0.5447, so this is a 0.0352 change. I did check it back to our what we presented to the voters in the presentation as far as what would the maximum of this go that it could go up would be. This is actually slightly lower based on the increased grand list value over what we had estimated. This does include the voted on additions for the 1 cent for the town center, the 1 cent for the conservation reserve fund, as well as the voted on appropriation. So this total of $4.7 million includes all the voted on items as well as the budget.
Wow, take a breath. John.
Well, hopefully that's helpful. That's a lot, but that's the.
Sorry, what'd you say?
So from the top, no.
Thank you for putting this together, Josh.
This is about 0.03 something percent increase.
Yeah, 3.5%.
I mean,
Of course, I don't have the percent.
5%.
Oh, it's not 3.5%.
It's 0.0, that's the actual dollar increase that I put. Yeah, where is the percentage? I might have put that in other, let me see here.
6%.
Did I put it easily accessible? Let's see here. It's actually, no, I can get a percentage easily enough. Let me just get to a
I
couple.
can't see if it's a percentage up there.
No, it wasn't a percentage. So just, yeah, it was a dollar increase. Just give me a second to find, All right, so this is the Excel version of this. I just added a percentage to say was the percentage of 0.0352 from the previous tax rate. So that gets us to 6.46%. Is that?
No, it's
Oh.
makes sense.
Okay.
The math works.
I hope it does. There's a few different things behind this, but I've checked it a few times. Yeah, so the motion would just need to be updated from 0.5794 to 0.5799.
What would we like to do?
Goes.
Yeah.
I'm joking, just to be very clear.
So the education property tax rate is 1.5671. Is that current?
The education property tax rate. So the education property tax rate, so this is part of the calculation. The homestead rate that was published on the state website is 1.2920, and the non-homestead is 1.3546. What I saw on the state websites today.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, what is the updated number from 0?
Oh, for the motion.
579?
Yeah, for the motion, it is
0.5799.
0.5799.
This is Caitlin. I moved to set the FY27 tax rate at 0.5799.
Is Bartle second?
Do the motion in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Bartle.
Caitlin, I.
Greg, aye.
David,
Adam, aye. Next, we have an update on deteriorating condition of concrete blocking on the east wall of the town center along the post office ramp, and discussion of issuing a request for proposals for repairs.
is this the damage that was caused by a truck backing into it?
No,
Salt damage.
this is, yeah, let me pull up the photos. It'll make a little more sense then. I just gotta find my photos here.
Opened holes into the foundation below.
Yeah.
There's a crawl space underneath that post office box lobby.
There
Lets the rats get in.
Well, I haven't seen any rats.
Surprised. But there's been some scouring from various floods, and then they salt the hell out of that ramp.
Yeah, I think it's more the salt. The floodwaters get sort of up here, but there's not a lot. It's only happened twice. So this is the ramp, sort of parking lot side.
Oh, yeah.
This is the parking lot side of the town center. So this is where the post office trucks park, and there's additional parking here. So this ramp is a ramp used by the post office workers to kind of bring large carts of mail down to their cars. You can see in this picture that there is some deterioration here. These are sort of more zoomed in, where you can see that some of the grout in between the blocks is worn away. There's some holes, and even the blocks themselves have been deteriorating quite a bit. There's a larger hole further up the ramp with some more deterioration along the concrete. And again, further up, you can see these holes here. You can actually see, it looks like some rebar poking out through there. So yeah, it's obviously been deteriorating for quite some time. It's been on the list with sort of like one of the larger pieces. But also as we looked at it with the brick mason and with Pete Cahill, who's helping us with some of the smaller projects.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, he said this is a lot different than the bricks. So the bricks out front is sort of a facade. They can take those down, build them back up. There's not really much structural component to them. This, because it's structural, because it's a ramp, they have to like remove the ramp, get back in there, and redo all these blocks. So I think the ramp really complicates matters. What did Pete say? He was estimating, he got an estimate of roughly $50,000 just for the work. I don't think that really contemplated removing the ramp and replacing it. So my question is, do we want to try to address this sooner rather than later? Or we also have another study on the whole building as a whole for what do we need to do? So that could be wrapped into a larger project potentially down the road. Then the other thing to consider is, as I was looking at this, the postmaster came out and said, "Oh, I'm glad you're looking at that. I put in a request for that into our facilities maintenance people," which basically, well, perfect, except the fact that they'll probably roll that back on us and say, you have until such and such a date to repair this because it's an issue for the post office. So I think some of the stuff they put in, their facilities team takes care of, but because it's a leased building, there are certain things that we're responsible for, and I would hearken a guess that this
There's
is what
no
they're
chance that that
responsible
would
for. I think you're probably right. So, he said he put that in, I think like last fall, so I'm kind of surprised they haven't contacted us yet. Usually they're pretty quick to say, you guys gotta get on this. So that's the information. Just wanted to see where the board wanted to go right now, Bard.
Well, first a question, then a comment. So Adam, this has to all be like jacked up, held in place, right?
I don't see what it's like underneath it, but yeah, this looks like a nightmare.
Exactly.
Like, this is why
Well-
every time someone wants to build anything nice and they're like, then we're gonna salt it, like, just don't build it nice then.
Yeah.
It's just
So-
gonna wreck it.
That's my second piece.
Especially when it's sealed.
Given what salt and the water flow does to concrete and the amount of money we're gonna spend on labor, should be replacing it with like granite
For concrete.
or concrete as
And like
opposed to.
standard concrete, like.
Concrete would be subject to the same kind of degradation. Granite would be a little less so.
We put some like,
What they do is they take them out 1 or 2 bricks at a time. They don't do,
Yeah,
they won't take a whole section out. They'll remove.
they'll create like a running bond and they'll kind of like build it. And every day, and then they'll like let it set. And the next day-
Why can't we just put a skim coat of mortar on it to get us by until we figure out what we're doing?
Well, if you understand how those H blocks are, I mean, they've got two walls with a hollow cell inside. These are like 1 5/8 or 1 3/4 thick. So
Yeah.
some of those are sort of into the cell, but
Yeah.
you could put an expanded metal lath on there and put a coating of
If we're replacing it, depends if we get in and they did it correctly and they like grouted and rebarred every 4th vertical. too.
Yeah, there probably are studs in there. That's what the verticals are called, studs. And there's probably ladder reinforcing in the horizontal joints as well. But $50,000 seems like an awful lot. I mean, that includes removing and then resetting the ramp.
No, I'm not sure that the 50,000 did include that, and it was a fairly rough estimate from the guy that was looking at the brick.
Yeah,
I think that Pete was saying that he thought that was low because of the complications of the ramp.
Is that true?
But we can get, that's where like we could also go out to RFP, get some information.
Yeah.
Formal bids. And then if it's way too much, you can say, no, we're up into larger projects, or if it seems reasonable, you can say, okay, let's get it done.
And is there an alternative to just more concrete blocks? That's really what I'm
Well, like that
after.
will hold up better.
Stone or
Yeah.
like
They make-
cement or.
they make
Or
blocks
moving
that, make blocks that have a glazed finish on the outside. They make, that you could get granite in that size. Granite's gonna be spendy.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just thinking the labor though, if you're spending 50,000 on labor and 10,000 on materials.
yeah,
So you spend another 5,000 on materials.
They make treatments now, like if you are pouring new concrete or whatever and you treat it properly with a correct densifier and I forget what it's called, modified slocks, like salt guard. Not an issue ever.
Yeah.
Like,
All right.
but you have to do it before there's ever salt on it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you would have to install new concrete and do that.
Fair
So
enough.
that's not ever an option here, and it's not an option in most facilities looking backwards, but like stuff we would do nowadays. Like bridges, they're all concrete and they use epoxy coated rebar because the rebar rusts inside and
Yeah.
pops the concrete is the problem. And then you put a siloxanes on it and it's not an issue actually. But pouring concrete is not a small thing either. And
No.
I don't know if that same treatment would hold up for CMU, so I would say that it's much more porous, I would think. I know Greg probably knows.
the CMUs. Yeah, I mean, that's what makes them lightweight block.
There's a lot of air
They're
in there.
trained with air, yeah.
And they absorb salt water.
Boy,
To get multiple, like an actual, so this wasn't an actual proposal, right? So maybe we.
No, this was, I think that my thought is, do you guys want to get more like formal RFPs on this?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess the proposal would be to fix it, right? We don't have a specific fix in mind, do we?
well, I mean, you could have different levels. I mean, if you're gonna fix it with a mason, then, that's gonna be expensive. If you're
Yeah.
gonna trowel on something,
That's
you
cheap.
know, well, it would be a different contractor. It'd
We
be
can
like,
do that.
Northern Vermont Pressure Seal or one of those guys, that specialize in.
So would we want to evaluate the structural integrity first and then
Yeah.
decide if we do a superficial or a?
Yeah,
I
Yes.
think when, and I think Duncan's still on, he might remember, but I remember when when Pete Cahill, who's our property guy, looked at it, he didn't really recommend a superficial fix. He thought the deterioration was such that any superficial fix isn't gonna buy you a ton more time to do it.
Well, and if the substrate's shitty, no matter what you do, it's gonna have a hard time
Yeah.
sticking.
Lipstick on
Just
pig.
look at what's the full, and honestly, it's been like this for a couple of years, so it's still structurally okay for now.
I
But
don't think it's gonna
I
cave
think
in.
we should look at what does it need to like fully replace it, and then what options can be put in place to prevent deterioration. I don't know if we can move the ramp out at all. That's probably not really feasible.
No,
But
never.
you guys, whatever the sorting is you're talking about is probably the best way to go with concrete. But we'll see what the.
Let's make a proposal and see where we're at.
We'll do it in American flag blue.
Yeah.
Guaranteed never to have a problem with anything.
Green.
The algae will keep the salt off.
Okay,
So, hey,
guys, we're getting late here.
yeah, well, it's after 10, so.
I hear you.
Next we have, are we,
I went to bed at 3 and got up at 6, so.
we're on to the next thing.
Okay,
Next we have consideration
yeah.
of using
Money.
$9,744.91 from the Town Center Reserve Fund to change the hydraulic oil in the Town Center elevators.
A $10,000 oil change.
Yep, I've included my email correspondence with several questions back and forth with the contractor as far as what are the specific volumes of oil, how much do your people get paid? Boy, this seems really expensive. Can you do it for any less? No, we can't. This is what we get paid. And actually, they try to tell us we're getting a deal based on the regular rates. So yeah.
We spent on that damn elevator.
Well, I mean, so this is a separate elevator. The elevator over at the library, we spent a decent amount on.
Oh, this
This
is
is
this one.
Town Center.
Oh, okay,
elevator.
okay.
So, yeah, and these are two separate companies and they're both extremely expensive. But that seems to be what you get when you're talking about elevators, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I charge $400 an hour and the guy bills you the minute he sits down in his truck.
Yeah.
So it's,
From Southern New Hampshire.
or yeah, Manchester, Boston.
Not a
So,
lot of elevators in Vermont.
What make or model? That's
They're
what,
Otis, aren't they?
Otis or Dover?
I am not sure. I think it's Otis is servicing it right now,
Yeah.
but I don't know that. I'd have to look at the make and model.
I think originally it might have been a Dover, which has been replaced by ThyssenKrupp now, but
Even Crooks?
it used to, well, it was Bay State Elevator out in,
Oh, okay.
out in Essex. They're not around anymore.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the use of $9,744.91 from the Town Center and Library Reserve Fund to change the hydraulic oil in the Town Center elevator.
I second.
Please sound more excited next time.
I can't.
So is there a reason not to approve this?
I don't think so. I
Change the
mean,
oil in my
it-
car.
The elevator will start.
Pretty necessary maintenance,
Yeah.
but due to the cost and it coming out of the Town Center Reserve Fund, you guys have to approve it. If it was like
Yeah.
$500, I would just do it.
Yeah.
Can we use the old oil to coat the bricks so it doesn't get in?
Go,
Put it on the
use, reuse, recycle.
Dust, keep the dust down.
That's what they used to do.
All right.
Can I move to approve the use of 9,700?
No,
We
David,
already have a
I
motion.
don't-
Second.
no,
You missed my
You don't
enthusiastic
have to
motion.
Enthusiastically second.
You can,
Second,
There you go.
it was already seconded. It was already seconded too, so you can just about.
Bart, aye.
Caitlin, I'm.
Craig, aye.
David, I.
Adam, I. Next, we have consideration of approval of liquor licenses and outdoor consumption permits for the Big Spruce and Vermont Fine.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve a first-class liquor license and an outside consumption permit for the Big Spruce.
This is Caitlin, I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Craig, aye.
David, I.
Who is Vermont Fine?
That is.
The,
Table.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve first and third-class liquor licenses and an outside consumption permit for Vermont Fine.
This is Caitlin, I'll second.
We just did the Big Spruce, right? Just to
Yep.
clarify. Okay. All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Craig, aye.
David, I.
Adam, I.
Hey, Adam, this is David. I move to approve the minutes from the June 15th, 2026 meeting.
Do we have a second?
This is Caitlin, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Caitlin, I.
Craig, aye.
David, I.
Adam, I.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the minutes. Typo, it's one, Josh. Minutes from the June 29th, 2026 meeting.
Do we have a second?
This is Caitlin on second.
All those in favor?
Barnett.
Caitlin, I.
Greg, I,
David, I.
Adam abstain.
and you weren't here.
Yeah.
Oh, was it the June 25th?
29th. It's quite the meeting.
It's okay.
Oh, that's when I can't second it then. Sorry. I thought that was.
You can't.
We want to redo it? Do you want to withdraw your second?
late.
It's too late.
Okay.
It's done.
That's fine.
I'll second as a backup.
Next, we have draft. We have purchase
You guys
orders.
Yes,
We did vote yes.
it passed.
You abstained, right?
I abstained, yes. We have a few POs, right?
No.
Approve the warrant.
Just the warrants.
Bart, I move to approve the warrants as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Barnett.
Caitlin, I.
Greg, I.
David, I.
Adam, I. We want to do the last item. Let's just punt this for a year. Next, we will be going into executive session to conduct an annual review of our town manager. So I'd like to make a motion to start.
I move to find that premature public knowledge about the valuation of an employee would cause town or person to suffer a substantial disadvantage.
Do it for a second.
This is David, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Barnett.
Caitlin, I.
Very good.
David, I.
Adam, I.
Adam, I'd like to move that we enter into executive session to discuss the evaluation of an employee under the provisions of 1 VSA 313A3 of the Vermont statutes and to invite town manager Josh Arneson into the executive session.
This is David, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Barnett.
Caitlin, I.
Very good.
David, I.
Adam, I.
Are we still live here?
We are, yes. We would need a motion
Yeah.
to adjourn. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
I.
Aye.
Aye.
You're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
You.